Hi Underhive scumbags. Before we start this episode, I mentioned a few times that there's a segment from Michael doing a book report. Unfortunately, due to his moving and changing jobs and everything else, he was unable to record for this month, so that will be next month. So if you hear me reference Michael and his book report, just ignore it and imagine it's happening next month. The podcast is still over 3 hours, so it's probably a good thing. Alright guys, enjoy. Welcome Underhive scumbags to episode 18 of Chronicles from the Underhive, a Necromunda and Post Apocalyptic podcast. I'm Tom.
And I'm Eren.
And that's it for today. Well, not for the podcast, but for the hosts. We don't have Michael or Tony, but each of them have their own segments today, so you will get to hear their voices. Tony will be doing a segment... Michael will be doing a segment on the Cal Jericho omnibus. So he's read all 3 books.
Wow.
And he's going to do a book review on them, which is handy seeing as the model's about to come out.
Yeah.
And Tony is interviewing Kevin from Promethium Forge. So like I had done before, where I spoke with the guy from War Games tournament, Tony's going to be doing the same thing with Kevin. So before we start, and I've also got an interview further on today. But before we start, come join us on the Facebook group, as normal, Chronicles from the Underhive, Necromunda Tom on Instagram, and again, thank you for people who complete the reviews. Thank you for our patrons who have been supporting. We will be doing our first hangout with the hosts. That will be next weekend on the Sunday. It was originally for the 1st of September, but I forgot that Tottenham were playing in the Champions League final, which they don't do very often. So unfortunately, I'm going to take. But also, one of the patrons is a Liverpool supporter, so they're quite happy that I've delayed it a day.
Nice.
But yeah, if you're interested in doing Google Hangouts with us once a month, come join us on the Patreon, and you'll be part of the group. So that's there for you guys. Okay, we've done the introduction, so we'll go on to confirm news. So have a quick break and we'll be back. Okay guys, confirmed news. So today we've seen on the groups and stuff that the Book of Peril, which is the newest quarterly release, is on pre-release. Mm-hmm. So you can start putting in your orders nice and early. I know that it's got... No one's really 100% of everything that's in it. I know the Benatar rules are supposedly in there. It's a lot about different environments and how to mix up the game. I know I'm going to talk about Warhammer Fest further on in this segment. I mean, further on in the podcast. And I spoke to some of the guys during a Q&A, and they seem to be quite excited about all the potential environments that there can be, because it can mean that even though you do have just the 6 games currently, you can really mix the games up and make it quite different.
Yeah.
And there's going to be card sleeves, and I think the Bad Zone environment, you can get I know they're going to be in the book, but you can get them on cards as well. So if you're running a campaign, you can just chuck environmental cards out at people and just start mixing their games up.
Lead to very interesting scenarios.
Yeah, especially if one person's getting quite one-sided.
Yeah.
If it's a one-day tournament or whatever, you can just start chucking in randomness and see what happens from there. I know there's new tactics cards that you can download from the main website, so that won't cost any money, which is nice.
Yeah.
And some of them look quite cool. And you've got one for Gene Stealer Cult, one for the Chaos Cult, and one for the Venator gang as well. So everyone has their own little personalised cards as well now. We will be discussing them. I think probably next month we'll all download them and have a look.
Yeah.
And see which ones stand out. There's a couple of cool ones. I know there's one, the Goliath only one, the specific one I know I want to use, might make my Berserker a little less crappy. It'll help him shift across the board.
Get across the board a little bit faster without dying.
And I know that obviously I'm going to start. We talk about smoke grenades further on in this episode when I chat to Matty and Carl as well. So yeah, I'm hopefully going to get him running up like a steam train with loads of smoke grenades in front of him. So hopefully, if no one's got goggles, they won't shoot him. Then there's Cal Jericho and Scabs on pre-order as well.
Yeah. The
Executioner was available at Warhammer Fest in a very small amount, but that will be out soon, very soon. It's not available yet. And the Human and Squat Ammo Jack are out. I know I purchased one for Carl when I was at Warhammer Fest, and the 2 Hive Scum are out. The one with the hood over his face that looks a bit like a Scarecrow.
Yeah.
And I think the Gutter Runner might be one of the ones that's available now. I'm not sure. It might be on pre-release. The guy who's kind of standing astride with the knife out. I can't remember if he's available yet or not. But I think I'm just going to make my own for that.
Does the Book of Peril have the list for Gene Stealer Cults and Chaos?
No, I think they're still download.
Just White Dwarf or download.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think the Venator one is the only one that they needed to. Well, they think they needed to tweak a bit more. Because I think where people are using them as sole gangs.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't really a money system and bits and pieces. I think it was. I haven't got to see the tweaks.
Okay.
But hopefully it's just fixed a couple of bits.
Kind of fleshed it out a little bit more.
Yeah, and worked out what to do with territories and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll definitely be worth a read. But like, I won't go into it with the Q&A because I know I'll forget. But they're saying that these books now coming up are very much a lot less. That you definitely need them to be able to play the game.
Yeah. Seems
they're
like
all
it.
now going to be. If you want to flavour it up with different environments, buy this book, but you don't have to. So that's quite cool. So none of this is now essential purchasing unless you want to obviously beef up you want a Venator gang. But apart from that, you can take it or leave it with some of the
And
stuff
how much does it set you back?
They haven't had that out yet.
Okay.
I haven't. Actually, it would make sense if it's on pre-order. You should be able to actually see how much it is. But I didn't check. That would have been a very good thing to do. What I'm going to do is actually, when we go on to what we've been up to, which I could actually jump to now, I'll let you go first, then I'll have a hunt.
Yeah.
Okay, so unless you can think of anything else for confirmed news.
I think you've gone through all of it. Actually, yeah.
Sweet. I'm going to have a little hunt on Google, and I'll let Eren, once we've had a break, go on to what we've been up to.
Oh, I found it actually.
Yeah? Oh, sweet.
£22.
Oh, boom. Okay.
On the GDubs.
Okay, guys, we're at what we've been up to. Eren Google researched way faster than I thought, and he found out that the cost of the book's going to be £22 for the hardback book. So speedy Google foo from Eren there. But thankfully, he's going to do the what we've been up to first. So cool. I'm sure it's lots of Necromunda stuff. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait for Eren to bust out some serious Necromunda stuff. Right,
yeah.
Off we go.
There's been no Necromunda stuff. It's been a busy hobby month for me. I finally finished my Gulliman, and I sold him, so he's off up north somewhere now, residing up near the wall.
Yeah. Or at some sort of gate somewhere. With his
Yeah,
Marines.
that's it. Yeah, but I finally got rid of him, and I've started on some Nergal at the moment because I've never painted them. And I popped into Forbidden Planet in central London the other day, and I went downstairs to where all the magazines are, and they've got all the Warhammer Conquest like collectors.
Oh, those books that you get an order with.
Yeah, that's it. And they come with the quick assembly troops, and they're really cheap. And I bought, I think it was 3 Plague Champions or whatever, and it was like £8, so it was a bit of a steal. But they've got loads of like Primaris Marines at like £3 or £4 for a couple of them, and really good prices actually. I might go back.
Are they not the magazines you have to be subscribed to? Or
you do, but they've got all of them there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I only bought one because I was with the missus and she doesn't like me buying too much Warhammer kind of stuff.
You got to pick your moments.
Yeah, I go to her, look, I could paint it and I could sell it on, and so she's like, all right, do it. So
I grabbed. Sell it on?
I might do. But I've never painted any Nergal, and I've always wanted to have a go.
Yeah,
and they look kind of fun. So
it allows you to try techniques that you don't normally do. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, and I'd done one of their bases. I kind of used the green stuff tool. Do you know the pipe tool?
The cable maker.
That's it, the cable maker.
My favourite conversion toy in the world.
Yeah, I made some like little maggots and stuff and put it on the base, and some little mushrooms. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. And I gave the model an airbrush the other day, gave it some base, and it's ready to paint now. I just got to kind of sit down and kind of figure out how I want it to look. Should I go over the top with the sort of the Nergal theme, or keep it kind of clean, which is usually my style, but I want to break it up a bit and do something different. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, so that's my current little project at the moment. What else? I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption. I picked up Mortal Kombat 11 the other day. Love that game.
I knew you'd buy that.
I've been playing Mortal Kombat since I was a kid. Since
you've loved it, haven't you?
I started on the Game Gear, and up to 11 now. So I've been playing that. I was just playing that just before we started recording.
Is it an Electronic Arts game?
No, it's Warner Brothers, but NetherRealm Studios makes it.
Okay, so you don't loot crate it. You don't have to open a box and it gives you a new...
They've got their own sort of system. You earn these coins by doing stuff in-game, and then you go into like another kind of 3D adventure game where you find chests and you open chests and you can pick up like skins or other things. It's pretty good. They make like a whole new game out of it.
So it doesn't affect what you... It doesn't make your player better.
It's very good. It's kind of cosmetic. So each character's got about 60 different costumes.
Wow.
And then you can like change the masks, the weapons, the accessories. It's really good. It kind of keeps you into the game. So it's not just like a 1v1 fighting game. There's some other kind of elements to it. So yeah, it's fun. So I've been doing that. I think that's it for hobby and gaming for me. I went and saw what's it called, Avengers Endgame. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, and then the Game of Thrones finale, which
not so much cool.
Well, the thing is, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think it ended how it was the only way it could end. I don't see another outcome. It was a bit rushed. I mean, what was it? 6 episodes, 7 episodes. It was a bit rushed, so yeah.
Yeah, what threw me was I was looking on YouTube at old clips from other Game of Thrones episodes, like when Daenerys was watching a game, like a battle where the guy who's always permanently friend zoned was fighting.
Yeah.
and then all the guys with masks started coming out, and it was really suspenseful. And like, you remember when you look back, I think, wow, some of those scenes were amazing, and those were the reasons I loved watching it.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any of those feelings with the last series.
It was just a bit rushed. They had their key kind of moments that they wanted to hit. There was going to be a battle here. There was a battle there. There's going to be this. It just kind of stuck to those key moments. There wasn't any other sort of fluff, really.
It was just kind of just closing it out. It didn't.
I get, the writers have gone to make Star Wars, so they just wanted to
get it done.
That's it, and then go and do their other thing. But yeah,
I mean, there's an entire thingy. Looking back on it, it is really good. But I think everyone got so excited for the end that the problem is like we were talking about the Forge World models and things. Sometimes you get such a idea of what you want in your head that when it's not that, you're just disappointed at the end.
Yeah. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's Sanguinius's head.
Oh yes, that's what it was.
I mean, on the side it looks like perfect, but up front it's a bit too skinny. But you know, what can you do?
It's aesthetic, isn't it? Yeah, I know I can't do any better. So I certainly know I definitely can't do any better.
Yeah.
I think we've gone off topic, haven't we?
Yeah, we've gone slightly askew, but
well, I'll drag it.
Apart from a bit of painting, that's someone at work plays Infinity, and they were talking to me about it. They go, "Oh, do you paint any models or anything like that?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I've got a whole podcast and everything." So yeah, he didn't know about this side of me, and he plays Infinity with a group of mates. He's like, "Yeah, you should really get into it." And I was like, "Well, you know, they're metal models and they're a little bit kind of And I was giving him some painting tips as well, But yeah, he goes, "Eren, you should play. I mean, I'll teach you." And I've always wanted to get into Infinity, but the size of the rule book kind of really puts me off. It's huge.
Is it big?
Yeah, it's a big old whopper. And
put out.
Yeah, so I'll see. But the guys at work have started to get back into Kill Team. I know you hate it. But
it's not that I don't hate it. It's just it pulls all my friends away.
I know what you mean. But there's such a big group at work that play it, so I've got no other choice. I'm like, I might as well play.
That's fine.
Fine. And seeing as how Elites is coming out as well.
Yeah, so you're basically paying 40k.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to him. It's like a gateway drug into 40k.
It's just when you got Kill Team Apocalypse coming out soon.
Yeah.
Or Kill Team Titans.
That's it. And that's the next step, really.
Yeah.
But
man, should I discuss what I've been up to?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So, mine has been Necromunda based. So I have I have definitely built all my Van Saar models, the conversions from the Gene Stealer cult stuff. I have started painting the rigid armour that they have on their chest and their legs. I'm going to hold off for painting the rest until I have another go at the new contrast paints, but we'll discuss that when I get to the Warhammer Fest bit next. I went to Warhammer Fest. I've built a mechanical spider that I'm just doing for aesthetic purposes and just for the fun of converting, which is off the new Chaos spider robot thingy.
Oh, that's the one with the big round...
the big abdomen at the back.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just going to run it. I mean, I'm not even going to probably run it as an actual model, but I just thought they're obsessed with spiders. I've already got an arachnorig. I'm going to have the spider, the little pets coming along, and why not have a big spider robot just sitting in the background looking menacing. So I just for the hell of it, I just thought I'd build one. I've repainted my Chimerics again. I wasn't happy with its kind of front crest, so I've redone that.
Did you take the paint off, or did you?
Yeah, no, I removed the paint entirely because I'd already had 2 goes at it before I got to the point where I wanted to redo it again. I just couldn't get it. How I tried different ways of doing it, and I wasn't happy with any of them.
What colours did you go for?
In the end, I've done it as a sort of stretched skin, so it's gone for like pale flesh and bits and pieces. So in between each of the kind of bony structures between, so it looks more like bat skin now.
Okay.
And I'm kind of happy with that. Like I say, it's only to just kind of complete that gang. So now both. Yeah. Well, I was going to say my Goliaths are complete, but I'll go into my next thing. Hungry Troll have sent me some of the Nuke Wars range, the Warriors-sized models. So they look a lot like Goliaths. They're awesome. They're made from resin, and I've always wanted them. But when I was making the Goliaths to start with, they have two sizes, Warrior and Hero. And at the time when I was making my Goliaths, they only had Hero size and they were metal. And Hero size are quite a bit bigger. They look like they're 35mm dimension, or even slightly bigger. And so you couldn't, they dwarfed my my Chaos Warriors that I'm using for my leaders.
Yeah.
So they were pretty huge. So I could never use them because I just couldn't. They just looked too big.
Yeah.
But now they've released the Warriors range, which is a lot. They're basically head to head with the current Goliath range.
Oh, cool, nice.
Yeah. So basically, it means that my leaders are still bigger than those guys. So these guys can, even though they look cool and have a load of character, they can still be runners, just normal gangers.
Nice.
One of them has a hefty gun, and is standing on 2 boxes. Now he's actually standing on 2 boxes of beer, and he's looking like he's holding out one of them so anyone can pick up, like he's giving one to a friend.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool. So their ammo jack is kind of actually just passing out what I'm going to say is like stim alcohol.
Yeah.
So he's just beefing up his lads before they go off into the fight. So I'm going to put more kind of ammo crates and stuff on the base as well. Nice. But I'm going to keep him kind of hanging out stim beer.
Yeah.
But the models, like...
they're beautiful.
One of them. Yeah, and one of them's like where they're wielding... Because I always wanted... I could never model properly someone swinging something over their head like they're about to bring it down on someone. You know, like when you've got like a big sword or something literally over the top of your head ready to smash it down. It's really hard to model that with just basic arms. Like you've got to do loads of cutting and clipping just to get it to look natural.
That's it.
I've got one of the guys swinging a massive car engine, basically. So he's holding the prop shaft of as the handle, and he's about to swing a giant engine down onto someone's head. That's cool. Another one's carrying a car door that's been reinforced.
I've seen that.
With like and in his other arm is like one of those jacks that you smash rocks with. You know, like they're power jacks.
Yeah.
He's just strapped one of them to his arm. So he's like ready to pump a road crushing power jack into someone's head.
Are you going to keep those or replace them with the Necromunda weapons?
No, I think
or just either counts as.
Yeah, because a lot of them. I mean, one of them's holding what looks like a stub gun, and a brute cleaver. Yeah. One of them's holding the giant car engine, which I'll just house rule as as the massive hammer or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I'll probably just keep them as they are because they're quite characterful, and I think I can find like a weapon stat that matches each of those weapons. So they're really, really cool. One of them is holding a minigun and looks more like he would be, because he's covered in armor plates and he's got a helmet and stuff like that. Yeah. He looks actually more like he would be in Mad Max. I know obviously mine are Mad Max themed, but they all look like the Fury Road guys. Yeah. This guy's all fully clothed and he looks like he's more of a biohazard sort of protected guy. I'm not sure I can describe him properly, but I'll put the pictures up when I get them up. But the guy holding the giant minigun, I might actually make as something else, because he doesn't fit everyone else in my army. For the Goliaths is bare-chested, bare-armed, but he's fully clothed, so I might make him as a heavy for a different gang.
Yeah, or it can be like an allied or some sort of hanger-on or something like that.
Yeah, he could even be as, like, because I'm where I've done my Dog the Bounty Hunter, like that gang.
Yeah,
he could be part of a Benatar list.
Yeah,
or if the Ash Waste gets released, and there is a car-based gang, he can quite. Like, I know he's awesome enough that I'm definitely going to use him.
Yeah,
100%. But it just might not necessarily be with this gang.
Yeah.
But no, I'm really lucky. So thank you. And there's one more model that I might order myself, which is a female version of a Morton Joe. I think you've seen the picture anyway. The one I said was going to be a Big Sally replacement.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do is paint her up in a style that either she can be the bride to my Morton Joe, or she's going to be the Stig to a Cawdor gang. Because I'm going to do a female Cawdor gang, because in the fluff it says that there's female Cawdor gangs and they base themselves on the Sisters of Battle. So what I'm going to do is going to buy the Cawdor models, wait till the Sisters of Battle come out, buy some of their heads, and then just do a swap and just do a female set of Cawdor models. Yeah. And because she's big enough to be one of those Stigs as part of the brute that they have, where you've got the little guy firing, she's going to be the base for that. So what I'll just put is shove a magnet on her back, and then be able to take this gun emplacement of this little dude carrying a gun and just be able to take it on and off. So I can either have her running in the Goliaths or running in the Cawdor.
Nice.
Based on what I put on her back.
Nice. So you've been busy, busy boy.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, because we're going to talk about the paint soon, but I'm holding off because I've seen the paints and used those new contrast paints. I don't want to start and get halfway through
and then you start using
them. Because I've used them, I now know what I want to use certain bits for, so I can't start painting them one colour and then start going into the washes halfway through.
Yeah.
So I'm in this kind of weird zone where I couldn't actually do anything else on the Van Sar. So it was perfect to have these models because I've been cutting and painting and building them.
Well, they're kind of delayed at the moment. I've been reading by 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
that's gonna suck.
Yeah, it might be a while before you get your hands
on.
Well,
then I might just carry on painting these new Hungry Troll models then. Because I know I'm not going to use a new paint system for those guys because all my other Goliaths aren't painted that way.
Yeah, just so keep I'll it paint all these, the same.
I'll start having a crack at these Hungry Troll guys then.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay. I don't know why. Maybe some sort of manufacturer delay, or I don't know.
Or maybe they've realised they're more popular than they thought, so they've got to make some more.
Or what's going on in China at the moment, and America, and there's all sorts going on.
Yeah, you just don't know, do you?
Yeah.
And then there was the one more cool model that they sent was the Cultist. Have you seen it?
Is it the metal figure?
Yeah, the one that's carrying like a chainsaw that's shaped as a giant cross. So that'll be part of my Cawdor gang as well. Nice. I'll make him as the executioner model or something, but obviously I'll de-chaosify the cross a little bit because at the moment it does look very chaosy. But I'm really lucky because that's not actually available yet, so I've got that early.
Nice. Damn.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
Look at you, favourites.
I might even do that one first actually, because I'll be like, no, I've got it.
Yeah.
But no, I've been really lucky. So thank you, Hungry Troll. I'll thank you further on at the end as well. But that was really cool. and I look forward to starting to paint them. But yeah, that's what I've been up to really. So we can go into Warhammer Fest next, and then me and you obviously can have the debate on the new paint range.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we'll have a quick break and we'll be back. Okay guys, welcome back. We're at the Warhammer Fest segment, which is where I was a couple of weeks ago, so we'll discuss that. Necromunda wise, I couldn't get to go on the Saturday, so I missed the main bit that they did with it. Yeah, it was a shame. It was my father-in-law's birthday, and it had already been arranged. I was just happy that I was able to go on the Sunday, so...
Yeah.
Did
they tell you there was going to be like a whole Necromunda release on Saturday? Or did they just kind of go, here's Necromunda?
No, it was about the bits that are coming out soon. And I mean, in theory, I got to ask them at the Q&A bit, which is... I didn't think there was anything Necromunda based on the Sunday, but then when I looked, there were little kind of mini seminar things, which were much smaller.
Yeah.
And they were run separately, so annoyingly I missed one because I wasn't looking for them, but then I did see the Q&A, so I went along to that, and there wasn't a huge amount of people. I think there was probably about 8 of us maximum. And so we asked a few questions. Some of them were a bit random. One guy was asking about whether there'd be Space Marines in Necromunda. There's
always one.
Yeah. But they were quite good with it. They said that that's not what they're looking for. They spoke about all of the stuff they wanted to start up, like with the guilds and all of those bits and pieces that are coming out soon. And I think that's what they're kind of looking to do in this sort of year of stuff, is starting to look at the guilds and all the different sorts of stuff. So that'll be really cool. They discussed the people that were doing it was Jonathan Taylor York and Owen Barnes were the two guys. They're background writers for Necromunda.
Oh, so Andy Hall wasn't there?
I did see him once. He was in the Forge World bit, but he was dealing with something, and then I thought, well, I'll chat to him in a sec, and then he vanished out, just disappeared, and then I didn't see him after that. Yeah, I think it probably was that, to be fair. I was chatting with one of the designers, one of the people who creates the miniatures, who had done the Executioner model. So he was happy his model was finally coming out. They
redesigned that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because he had a hood, didn't he, before?
Yeah, it did look a bit iffy, if you were that way inclined. The new sculpt looks really cool. He's got good. He's got when I looked up close, because you couldn't see it from the picture, he's got like a skull mask on his face, because I thought that was a bit of a rope that was hanging kind of off his cheeks, like it hadn't put it around, because they also had an issue about them having hangman's nooses around their necks and stuff like that. So I thought because I'm sure I read someone wrote on Facebook that they kind of put the rope slightly higher up, or like, so it's around but thankfully it's not, it's a mask, so the model looks really cool.
Yeah, it does. I really love all the new models. I mean, Jericho and Scabs, they look so cool.
I know, I spoke to the guy who painted them, so I'll speak about that in a sec. But thankfully, because I was a bit unsure about how they were still going to do the release schedule, because it was kind of like quarter, and then kind of went dead. So I honestly didn't know what they were going to do, but he did say that they're still doing quarterly releases. So every kind of 3 months, it will be a big thing coming out each time.
Nice.
This one is going to be the book that we've already discussed. So obviously at the time that wasn't confirmed, so that was what we were discussing. So now you guys know there's not obviously so much that I can talk about now, because they confirmed that they were updating the rules for Benatars, the models, and obviously it's going to be about environments and bits and pieces, so stuff like that. And again, there's going to be a trading post where you can buy different weapons different to the current one. So I'm sure someone was saying about, or I read something about, you can buy ammunition to kill plants and stuff, because one of the
weed killer.
Because basically it's pesticide grenades and stuff like that, because some of the plants will be able to kill you in this book. So it's all about just mixing up the games and making them a bit more interesting, and just chucking in more scenarios and stuff. So where you're now, I've played this scenario, I'm sick and tired of it, sort of thing. It's just, you've got your gang, you're happy with it, you're just a bit bored of the games that they seem so familiar, especially if you're pumping out 2 or 3 games like per when you're playing the campaigns per changeover. You're like, okay, well, I can't play those anymore.
It just adds a bit of flavour.
It just gets a bit long after a while. And we discussed the Enforcers coming out soon as well.
Can't wait for those guys.
Yeah, they didn't discuss them too much because they couldn't, because it's not really available yet, and they're not going to be out for a while. But essentially, they said they're not going to be so Judge Dreddy, so they're not aimed so much at the old ones.
Yeah, I remember the old ones.
Yeah, it's not going to be so much Judge Dredd running up. It's going to be like, they are the police, but they're sort of at the same time the Lord's personal army. So it's kind of like a private police force, sort of soldiery sort of thing. So they're going to be a bit more professional sort of soldiers, rather than kind of Judge Dredd, massive crests on their shoulders, gold and black and red sort of thing.
People are going to paint them like that, though. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, fair play to them. And if they mould the helmets on, I mean, they might even look like the conversions that I've made, because I've got obviously, as always, I've got a gang of those guys using Cadian chest torsos for the body armour and bits and pieces, and puppet war and all the other things. So some have got like riot shields and shock staves and stuff. So I mean, when they come out, if I'm happy with playing them, I've already got a group of guys ready to go. So
nice.
I think that's always the bonus of having so many different conversions and bits and pieces.
Just swap bits in and out. And, do your own thing.
I'm ready to go. So that's why it always seems like I paint so fast. A lot of it is the old Necromunda stuff that I've been able to retrofit into the new. Nice. But yeah, that was the Q&A. Obviously now we know that stuff's out. Not a huge amount of that Q&A is relevant, because we already know the stuff that's available now. So next I chatted to the heavy metal painter Borja Garcia, who painted Cal Jericho and Scabs, and he painted Sanguinius as well. So we were chatting about how he painted all the bits and pieces. So on Sanguinius, how he painted the feathers, because he had to individually put each line into the little individual bits of feather. We spoke about how I noticed that on Cal Jericho he's painted texture into the fabrics, so the leather has individual looks of fabric. The coat does as well, which I didn't really ever see very much in other models. But it is something that I have thought about myself, about how I'm gonna make the jeans on someone's trousers look like a pair of jeans, or the fabric of something look like it's fabric rather than just a block of colour. So it is cool that they're starting to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't really dabbled in that. I've started to paint a bit of texture on, so say like lava, I was going to say leather, onto like leather, like holsters and belts, kind of adding like little kind of scratches just on the side of the belt, just to give it that kind of worn leather look to it. But I've never gone into sort of putting like texture into trousers or fur. It's interesting because GW never sort of did that stuff in the past. It was pretty much just kind of do their thing, give it like a highlight, and that was it.
I mean, to be fair, I think it's because he's one of the heavy metal painters rather than the general magazine sort of painters. So he's not the one that's thinking up the paint schemes so that everyone can do sort of paint. He's this is the model that's going to look amazing sort of thing. So I've just seen on the one of the Necromunda sites talking about what's happening in the future, that Twitch Thursday is going to be very Necromunda related.
Oh, nice. So, check that out then.
So this Thursday, the Venator, I suppose by the time this is recorded and you guys are listening, this has already happened, so ignore me. I've just realised, timey-wimey, because what's happening after this Warhammer Fest bit is that I'm going to be introducing lots of different interviews, but they've all been, some of them have been recorded, some of them need to be recorded, so it's kind of like Doctor Who's timey-wimey sort of thing. It's hard to keep track. I'm like telling you of stuff that might have already
already come out.
Yeah, it is confusing. So I know that there's a bit that we've been discussing quite a bit on the Facebook, that me and you had a little debate as to whether it's helpful or not.
Kind of back and forth.
Yeah. But I think it is handy to have two different opinions and stuff, because it can't all just be one-sided.
That's it, yeah.
So what I'll talk about is I'll talk about my experience using it, and then we can talk about how we think it might be or might not be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
So there was a whole kind of floor of this fest that was dedicated to speaking to painters, but also to try these paints out. So they're a new sort of wash and a new sort of style of painting. They're a wash but with really high pigment to it. They suggest using one of the two undercoats that they've got coming out. One's more of an ivory colour that makes warmer colours when you use it, and a bluer one.
Before we go into the paints, are these new primers, what's different about them and the current ones that GW sell in store?
See, I didn't spend much time talking about that because I know that I probably won't use them, but I've got a feeling it's because they go on really, really smooth.
Okay.
I wanted to have, what I might do, because I was trying to have a Henry from, my brain's gone blank. Henry Steele from, what's his painting company? My brain's gone completely blank. You know what it is as well.
I do know what it is. Oh god, I keep seeing them pop up on my Instagram.
Cult of Paint.
Cult of Paint, that's it.
Cult of Paint, the one that's winning Golden Demons and all over the place, but I still can't think of the name.
Keep forgetting. But,
and he was on the videos for Games Workshop when they were reviewing them. But he's going to talk, because he's used. He's obviously used them quite a lot now. So, and he's obviously a incredibly much better painter. That was not even English. He's a much better painter than I am, and he's a professional painter, and he's won Golden Demons and bits and pieces. So he would be way more qualified than me to talk about this sort of stuff. But from what I understand, it gives a really smooth.
So it might have like a gloss element.
Yeah, so it needs to. I mean, it's not so. I mean, it's definitely something I could probably do if I undercoated with an airbrush. So where I undercoat with Halford's grey primer to just paint with, it's quite grainy. I mean, it's fine for me to paint directly onto, because paint is the GW paints will paint over that no problem. But if I try and wash onto it,
just
I think you'll see the texture. Yeah, and I think you'll get creases and grooves and shadow where there shouldn't have been shadow, if that makes sense. I think you could get the same effect with different like airbrush primers and bits and pieces, but I think if you don't have an airbrush, it's probably the way to go.
Or what you can do is airbrush and then do like a gloss varnish coat on top.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, I've not tried them enough. I've just given them a test go, but I don't know if the gloss would make it too shiny and that it would just then the paint pigment wouldn't stick. Because basically you paint onto it really quite thick, more than you'd imagine, and it's like painting with watercolors. It's like you wet it, and then each time you touch the paint onto the model, it's like that's why you're adding pigment. It's kind of the opposite of what you'd normally do to add wash. And what it does is, because it's got so much pigment, when you're painting over the white, it then makes the white become the colour that you wanted. Like ultramarines, if you're trying to do it blue, you would use the blue, it would then stain the white blue,
and then go into the crevices,
and then go into the crevices and make those bits darker. So it speeds up I mean, if you've got an airbrush and you already have the blue as an undercoat sort of thing, or let's say you have a blue undercoat that's exactly the right colour, then it won't save you any time. But if your undercoat is definitely not the colour of the model you want to paint, then it means you can just quickly bust out the colour and the shadow in one go. And it also has a new type of Lamia Medium, because I don't think the other one works.
No, I don't think it works.
No, and so people are experimenting with them at the moment, so you can thin them down and make them more like a wash again.
But that kind of defeats the...
Yeah, it defeats the purpose. I mean, with my model, I tried 4 or 5 different colours. My main interest was the black, because I still have a backlog of Deathwatch that I can't get round to painting, because I just can't bring myself to paint them when I don't use them. But if I know I can quickly just bust them out with a black that makes them black but also shadows and everything, and does it all in one go, so then all I've got to do is add the highlights.
It's hard to shadow black because you can't.
I know, but the thing is, what I would normally do is paint them a dark grey and then wash down. But if I can get this thing and just coat them with the stuff, so that the bits that were white are now a dark grey, and it washes it all in one go, even if it's just that to get those bits done, and then all I've got to do is add the gun bits and pieces, it just speeds up the process. I mean, I won't use it all the time, I'll use it only when I need to. So like with my Gene Stealer cult models, I'll probably get a colour, because the white, I struggled with the white that goes on their upper armour. It was really difficult to get the ink into that to shadow it properly. Whereas if I can get a white, because there is white ones that allow you to do things like white scars and stuff. If I can quickly just bust that in and it automatically does that for me, I've saved myself so much time on, because I've got like 15, 16 models. If I can, for my van, so if I can just quickly bust that through. And also like the trousers, like if I can just use a set of inks like a light brown, I just do that and it instantly also washes it at the same time. It just saves me so much time. I mean, the positives that I can think, because I have got negatives as well, like if I had a mass skeleton army, or I had Tyranids to paint, or orcs to paint, like with the termagants and all of those things, you just need the bone colour for the top and then the skin colour for the bottom. If you wanted a very like, spend your time on the big models but just bust out the group, you can bust those straight through in such a small amount of time. Whereas if you had to paint and then try and get the inks into each of those little grooves, you'd go insane. I know if I tried to batch paint 40 models and then I knew I had to start washing every single one and try and get them into the grooves, I wouldn't do it. And I would just have them. And I think that's kind of what these washes are for, because they've never tried to market them as this will improve your paint.
No, it's just another tool.
It's about getting rid of the backlog of grey plastic that you've got. It's not like this is going to improve everything that you do. This will help you get rid of all your grey plastic.
And saying that, the video that GW released with all these top painters, they said that as well. They said it was a tool, and it's not gonna sort of make everyone pro painters. And I think they were very careful about what they said as well on that video. They were saying it's a tool, it's going to save time, but they weren't saying anything to, out of, make it the next big thing, really. Because,
I mean, I'm looking forward to it, just so that when there's times where I just need to get something incredibly basic done, then I can do it. And then I will definitely always go back and highlight them, because it doesn't highlight for you as well. If it highlighted at the same time, that would be the best thing known to man.
Yeah.
But it will just means I get rid of some of the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Like it, the thing that I found that it couldn't do, and this is where I might find it difficult, not so much with Necromunda, but I find it struggles with big vehicles, flat pieces of terrain and stuff. There was a Wraith construct, I think it might have been a Wraith Knight or something big, but you could see where it was pooling on catching on flat surfaces where it had no place
to go
to finish. And then the difficulty is if you are running a troop and vehicle heavy list, is that how do you then match your vehicles to look like your models? I think that's going to just need a bit of work, but for what they're supposed to do, which is bust out, and I mean, we're coming as people who are relatively competent painters. Like, we're very slow, but we're not awful painters. There's some people who don't have confidence and don't feel like they're very good painters and may not paint the stuff and it might mean that they end up not, because if they go because they like playing a game and they haven't painted their models and they get grief from these random people that they play because they're not painted, they're just gonna not play anymore. And it seems a shame. Whereas true. if they've got these paints that at the very least allow them to paint 3 colours, which is the minimum for tournaments and stuff, and it also looks relatively competent because at the same time it also shades, then they're on to a winner, I guess. I mean, like I say, I won't paint every one of my models. Like, if I've got a showpiece, that one piece that I'm really gonna make look amazing, I might only use one colour of the washes and the rest I'll personally paint, because I want that extra detail. Yeah,
I could see it working really well for like flesh and skin and organic parts of your model. But and going back to that video again, they were very careful not to show any like space marines or any tanks or vehicles. They had very kind of organic pieces.
The space marines, I had a look up close to the space marines. They weren't too bad because the shoulder pads obviously have a couple of grooves, and on their arms they have their elbow pads, and they have a couple of lines kind of cut into them and their hands and their fingers and their chest, they've got enough curves, because that's why putting a stencil on them is sometimes a pain in the bum.
Because of the curves.
They are curved, so it's not, Space Marines aren't so bad, but if you then move up to a Dreadnought or a Rhino, which is pretty much all flat, then you're going to struggle. And I think that's the problem or even the big Dreadnoughts, whatever they're called now, the huge ones, they've got quite big
the Contemptors, and then you've got your...
Well, even the new fancy Primaris
the Primaris ones,
they're absolutely huge. But then you're going to struggle, I think. Yeah. But the Space Marine wasn't too bad. But
I guess
Eldar
it comes down to how you apply it as well. I mean, you can go sort of just like heavy-handed and just plonk it on, or you could kind of paint it on. I don't know if it makes a difference in the end.
I mean, when I was painting a Chaos Marine. It was a Nergal Marine. I think everyone had a Nergal Marine. They were just like, no, put it on thick.
Okay.
Just keep adding it. They were promoting you to make it thick as you can.
And how does that affect like the drying time as well? Because if you're
it took a while to dry as well. So basically, when I'd finished painting, I then had to kind of wave it about the place to try and get it to dry, so I could put it somewhere.
Yeah.
But on the whole, you don't need more than one coat. I tried with the black to give it one coat, and it was quite grey in bits and pieces. And it was okay, so I thought I'll give it another coat to see if that then brings it up.
Yeah.
And then but then it made it really black.
Oh, okay.
To the point where I could have just
painted it black.
Yeah. So what I'll probably do next time is, if I was going to do that, give it one coat, and then if I wasn't happy, just do another coat, but with a bit of medium in to bring it to thin it down and not make it so intense. So honestly, I think it's just going to be play and practice and see what happens. But for people that will find it helpful, it will be incredibly helpful. It just depends on what your painting style is, and stuff like that. But like I say, for mass painting, it's definitely going to be really helpful. For like just basic models, like for a skeleton army,
that would definitely
be amazing.
Help out. Yeah, you just kind of stick it on, and it doesn't matter if it looks a little bit dodgy or doesn't look quite right. It's horde, skeleton army, or zombie army, whatever. I think it looked cool.
And for commission painters and stuff like that, it'd be amazing. But if you were doing a one-off commission for Golden Demon, you wouldn't probably use very much of it. No. But if it was, this guy wants this army of Nergal Marines done in a week, then it's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
But that's all I really had to say for the paints. Like I said, I'll get a couple, but only with colours that I need, and I know I need them, sort of thing. So I'll buy a couple for the Van Saar, and I'll just add to it when I need to. But I did think they were quite cool for the task that they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm just trying to get certain colours just done, it's not the important bits. It's not the bits where eyes will draw to.
Yeah.
Then it's definitely something I think will be the way to go.
Did they talk about prices? Because they're in slightly larger.
Yeah. So they fit between the size of a normal pot and the big wash pot. But they didn't tell us the price, no.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of up in the air at the moment. We don't know how much it's going to be. But by the time you listen to this recording, you may.
So I'm going to say about $350.
How much are normal paints now?
$275. I think.
Yeah, probably about that. But like I say, if you only needed 2 pots of these to paint a 4,000 point Tyranid army, then it's definitely worth it.
Yeah,
I'd bite off their arms for it. But Warhammer Fest, it was really fun. I'd definitely go again. If I could find people to go with, that would be even better.
Yeah. I'd love to go to one of these shows. It's just it's so it's so hard, when you've got a family. Well, you've got a family, you've got kids. Your weekends are.
I was lucky.
Yeah, your weekends are kind of precious, and it's tough sometimes to get away.
I think I was lucky in the way it fell, and also now I'm in Bedford. I'm a bit closer up that way now. Whereas if I was still in London, it would have been a big commute, big old journey. Probably not for people in America. They'd probably listen and think a couple of 100 miles is nothing, but we're spoilt in the UK.
Yeah, what for Warhammer, but
yeah. There's other things happening that aren't so great, but hey ho.
We shan't talk about that one thing.
No. Well, it could be anything at this rate. Okay, so we'll finish with Warhammer Fest. I'm going to introduce each of the interviews for the next couple of segments, and then it will be me and Eren for the thank yous and the close and the Facebook page. So, speak to you soon. Okay, guys, now it's the interview with Tony and Kevin from Promethium Forge. So we hope you enjoy.
Right, welcome back, guys. It's now me, Tony, and today I have with me Kevin Quadra from Promethium Forge.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, how about yourself?
I'm great, and I'd say it's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, great to be here. I've been a listener for a long time, so it's cool to be able to contribute finally.
So what have you got for us today?
All right. Well, first of all, I just wanted to express appreciation for the focus of your podcast. I appreciate the fact that you guys are Necromunda focused because actually my terrain company, Promethium Forge, I think is perhaps the only MDF based or otherwise 100% Necromunda focused terrain company that I know of, possibly in the world. Necromunda is definitely my favorite game system. I've played just about everything in sort of the Games Workshop and, the whole 40K system and all those offshoots. And just throughout the years, I keep coming back to Necromunda. So my heart within gaming is definitely in the Underhive. So I appreciate that that's exactly where your podcast originates from as well.
Yeah, and there's stuff that you've got seems great for it. Like you say, it's perfect for Necromunda. I've not really seen any other MDF stuff that's just as well designed and intended for this game system.
Yeah, thank you. It it all goes back to the very beginnings of the company, and it was truly founded as Necromunda Terrain. And kind of came about because I was looking around on the internet for cool Necromunda terrain to put on our tabletop, and I just really couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. So at that point, I had no design experience, no experience with laser cutters or anything like that. And I had always been a scratch builder of terrain since, back in the day. I started playing Necromunda when it first came out back in the 90s with, the original plastic bulkhead terrain and all the cardboard and all that good stuff. And just loved it. I mean, like, as a teenager, that was just the coolest stuff. And the best weekends we could have is when we could hole up in the basement, and play for practically 2 days straight. And you could almost get a campaign in one weekend. It was awesome. But those were just great times. So looking back to that, and I kind of rediscovered the hobby as an adult, and I thought, great, let's get a table full of Necromunda terrain going. And like I said, I looked around and really couldn't find anything that was exactly right. There were a couple companies that had some pretty cool stuff, but nothing that really captured the feel of that old bulkhead terrain system. So the first major set that I designed for Promethium Forge was called the Bulkhead Terrain System, and obviously is a spiritual successor, from that original terrain system. There were a couple things about it that, in my opinion, were a bit of an upgrade from the original design, just a little bit more as far as, the stairs and the ladders and keeping that 3D and that vertical space going, but modeling in a little bit more of ways to, get from level to level. So you could build in, not just the flat platforms, but a little bit more cover, a little bit more, transportation from level to level.
Yeah, I have to say the spiral staircases that you've got on a fair few of the pieces look like brilliant. I'm really impressed that you can even achieve that with MDF.
Yeah, thanks. It's fun to see where you can push the limits of the medium just a little bit, and it's also just kind of a challenge for me. I guess again, I am not a designer by trade. This is literally the first foray I've ever taken into the world of designing anything.
I think it's fair to say you are a designer by trade now.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's been tons of fun to kind of learn on the job, as they say. But it's neat to see something and think, all right, cool. I wonder if we can make that in out of flat MDF and make it work. So it's cool. And you start with sketching an idea and then bring it over onto the computer and start clicking on lines and prototype and cut things and see how they work and see how they play, and it's a really cool process.
So it really was a case of you were looking to find this sort of product out in the world, and when you couldn't find it, you just decided to make it yourself.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And also, the terrain that I was creating, it got to a point where my wife said, no more. We've got a whole closet full of this stuff, and it's styrofoam and cardboard and foam board and, all these things that are a lot of fun to make and a lot of fun to paint, but then not so much fun to store. So one of the big features of the original bulkhead set was that it was all modular, so you could, change your table setup, and that's really fun too, but also just that it would pack down small. So you can have a massive table of stacked high, triple story 3D terrain that would all pack down into, a couple cubic feet of storage space.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So how did you actually go from like the decision to make this stuff to actually setting up the Promethium Forge?
Yeah, so where I was working at the time, I had joined a local makerspace because that is where they had the laser cutter. And I'm not sure if you have these around your neck of the woods, but over here in the U.S., a makerspace is just essentially a tool cooperative. So they'll rent out a space, usually kind of in an industrial part of town, and then you pay a monthly membership, and you show up and you can use all their tools, whether it's woodworking, metalworking, laser cutters, 3D printers, that kind of thing.
That's interesting. I've not heard of that sort of stuff myself. I'm aware of like a digital equivalent. Because I work in the digital agency and industry, and there are like communal offices and things and rentable spaces that you can go to use stuff like that for digital companies and work. But I've not heard of something that's sort of like hardware wise.
Yeah, it's cool because everyone wants a big, nice table saw or a laser cutter, but how many of us actually have the space and money to have these things lying around the house? And then with these big, strange tools, it's the question of how often do you actually use it? So you need it every once in a while. So it's just a great design to have kind of a cooperative setup. And then the other plus that I didn't really think about before joining was then you just have a bunch of interesting people hanging around the makerspace who are working on their own projects, and they wander over to see what you're working on, and you get this really cool cross-pollination of ideas, and you just run into stuff that you never would have thought of on your own, which is sort of what started happening here. So I designed something very basic. I think my very first product was the horizontal can kit, and if you're familiar with the product line at all, that is just the soda can that's stuck on its side that has like a ladder and some end caps, and it just kind of made to look like a chemical storage unit. And that was the very first product. So I was prototyping those in the makerspace. And thought it would be cool to, design something and throw it up on Etsy or whatever and see if there was any interest. And, maybe a couple people would pick one up every now and again. And it would just, provide a little extra cash so I could justify, buying more miniatures and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I was doing this at this makerspace, and someone was kind of looking at what I was doing, and they said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Kickstarter?" And I said, "No, what's that?" And they said, "Well, you could, post this project up on Kickstarter, and you never know, it could take off, and lots of people could like it, and you could buy your own machine, and that would be kind of cool." So I said, all right, that's interesting. So a month or two went by, and eventually I put in some development time on the bulkhead set, so that was up and live on the website. And I thought, well, let's try this whole Kickstarter thing. Maybe if I could sell like 20 of these sets or something, I could get my own laser and that type of stuff. So got everything put together, had to get the photos and, make a little video and all this sort of Kickstarter stuff. And my goal was to get about 20 to 25 backers. I thought if we could just do that, that'll be a lot of work to fill all those orders, but it's doable. And then I could purchase a machine and kind of keep things going from there and make it self-sustainable. So the campaign posted, and it was funded to that goal within 24 hours, I think, 25 hours or something like that.
Wow.
So I thought, wow, okay, well, that worked.
Really good.
that was neat. So day 2 goes by and it was double, just linear growth. And I thought, wow, okay, there's a lot of people out there. And day 3 went by and same thing. It just kept adding on the same amount as day 1. So we get around to day 10 or day 12 and I start to do the math and I'm like, whoa, hang on for a second. There's just no way that we can produce all this stuff. We're going to get behind. We're going to be delayed. So we actually hit the pause button on the campaign and said, okay, no more backers for right now. And I made some arrangements and recruited some friends. We turned the campaign back on. And in the end, where we had the original goal of about 25 backers, we ended up with 250. So that was a bit of a shock.
Yeah, that is certainly a success.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of the dust settled from all that, and then all of a sudden we were trying to figure out, okay, like how are we actually going to get this stuff out the door on time? So we started cutting like mad and just packing orders late into the night, and I had some friends step in. And I actually found a laser producer in California who I now work with every Little War, and he stepped in to help a lot of the production and cutting. So it was truly a team effort from that point, but we were very proud to say that we got it all done and got every single pledge delivered on time. And ended up with 252 happy backers when it was all said and done.
And I'm sure they're all busy waging warfare in the Underhive as we speak.
Yeah, gosh, I hope so, with that sweet smell of MDF too.
So, and that was just like the first real product in the product line outside the bulkheads. So you've sort of expanded the range since then, haven't you?
Yeah, so the next big thing after that was the can terrain. So another interesting thing about this whole story, so I had been a dyed-in-the-wool Necromunda player since my teenage years, and this was all happening actually right before Games Workshop announced the fact that they were going to re-release the game. So at this time, I was kind of looking around on Yak Tribe, trying to find versions of the rules because everything is out of print. So just as pure coincidence, the ball was already rolling for all this stuff right when Games Workshop, dropped the bombshell that they were re-releasing Necromunda. So, basically the second coming of Jesus in this, weird little slice of the internet of people who were keeping Necromunda alive as an out-of-print game. So anyway, after going with the bulkhead stuff, that was built to as close as I could kind of remember the original size, the size of the original bulkheads. But then that's right when Necromunda Games Workshop came out with the Sector Mechanicus terrain, which was all based off the 5-inch height. And when I first saw that stuff, I was surprised that they went with such a big, story height just based on movement and people getting up and down and kind of still working off those old movement values.
I do think that was a little bit of a decision based on the fact that it was 40k terrain as well. It was intended for the scaling of vehicles and that sort of stuff in 40k, but then they've translated that terrain to basically being the official Necromunda terrain by GW. Because at the end of the day, it's still not actually advertised by them as Necromunda terrain. It is just part of their 40k terrain range, and it has rules in Necromunda for use. But as a community, it's pretty much the accepted GW standard of Necromunda 3D terrain. So I can see why you also then had to adapt to this 5-inch tall system.
Yeah, so then that was just a new paradigm to think about, and the bulkheads, I tried them in either 5 inches or 2.5 inches, and sort of the metric equivalents therein, and it just didn't quite work. The 2.5 inches was too short. The floors are too close together. You can barely get your hands in there. You knock stuff over. It's tricky. The 5-inch height is a little bit more doable, but it ends up just looking a little funny. It looks a little spindly to my eye. It just doesn't really look very sturdy.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine that.
Yeah, so in playing around with the soda cans, I noticed that an American soda can, the 355 milliliter, stands just right around 5 inches tall, and the GW stuff is actually 127 millimeters tall, and I think the American soda cans are maybe 3 millimeters short of that. So with just a little bit of extra padding around the top and the bottom, there you go. You have a piece of 5-inch tall terrain, and here's your soda can. So we just need to dress those up a little bit. And bingo, you can have something that was otherwise destined for the recycling bin. And it gives you that volume and that line of sight blocking out of a relatively easy to cut and easy to ship kit. So, we can cut and ship these kits that take up not too much space in the package, and they don't weigh too much compared to the amount of terrain that you're receiving. But by the time it's all built, plus your can, you have a pretty substantial piece of terrain.
And it looks great. I think it could be easy to mistake the concept of using soda cans as something that might come across as not great quality, but it's really not the case. It looks excellent as the stuff.
Yeah, thank you. It's cool how adding just a little bit of embellishment, can really bring it to life, and of course, painting and little hobby touches. But again, I also think it kind of harkens back to that scratch-built day and that scratch-built aesthetic that you get on so many Necromunda tables, where people are just putting together all kinds of weird plastic bottles and soda straws and connectors and wires, and it looks crazy, but then you base coat everything, and with a little bit of rust, all of a sudden it looks pretty believable. So
we've got a fair few people in the Facebook group who do just that. All sorts of scratch-built terrain from all kinds of household objects. But once it's all kitted out and undercoated and painted up, it looks like this sort of sci-fi, gothic, grungy, industrial stuff, and it looks ace.
Yeah, I love it. And as a kid, where my kind of heyday with the hobby happened, you could afford stuff from the garbage to, throw a can of spray paint on. So when it was difficult to always be buying new models, it's pretty easy to always be producing new terrain. So you could get your fix of hobby in that sense without breaking the bank on, buying new models all the time. And with the cans, I felt like aesthetically it did mix pretty well with the Sector Mechanicus terrain. So if somebody got a few really cool showpiece items of the Sector Mechanicus, you could kind of fill out the rest of the table with a dense, multi-level line of sight blocking tabletop, which is just my favorite way to play. So the Sector Mechanicus terrain, for as good as it looks, and it's gorgeous, it really is beautiful, very expensive, and if you wanted to build a whole table of that stuff, you're looking at quite an investment. So I hope that people can have the play experience that they want without breaking the bank quite so badly.
Yeah, I have to admit, I feel like there's a critical mass point with the Sector Mechanicum stuff. When you've got some of it, it looks quite sparse. But once you get loads of it, it really comes together and becomes its own amazing little micro world. But it takes a lot of the kits to get to that point. So having another alternative out there is only good.
Yeah, great, just to give people more options. And I also found the Sector Mechanicus, I just wanted more ladders and stairs. So, pretty direct.
Admit, the one thing that I think is really distinctive about all your range of MDF stuff is the stairs. Both the spiral internally in the structures and the 45-degree angle stairwells, because that is something at the moment that none of the GW kits allow for. They just don't have these traditional sets of stairs, only ladders.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure why. I think the stairs are much easier for gameplay. They're all designed to accept, up to the not the biggest bases, but a larger base size of a Goliath or something.
Yeah, pretty much anything shy of an amble.
Yeah, exactly. Your amble's not going to quite fit on the on the narrower staircases, but the new wider ones you probably could. But yeah, they're designed. You can see from some of the pictures that the bases kind of slot in there, so your guys can be halfway up the stairs. And also, which is pretty convenient because you can stop, 1 or 2 stairs from the top and still get a little bit of cover at the very top of that staircase.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought about that. That's quite a neat little interaction with the actual game rules. Being able to use your stairs to get like partial cover and such. That's really clever.
Yeah, and then also as just more line of sight blocking. It's always that question of how can we make the tabletop just a little bit denser, get a little more line of sight blocking, and I think that is mostly because I'm just very attracted to melee gangs, and I've never been one to stand back and shoot. So I built an entire terrain company just so I can fit my own play style.
Well, I was going to ask, looking at most of the kits, how attachable, detachable are the half walls, the barricades? Does that make sense? The railings and such.
Yeah, so that's also another interesting compromise because you want it detachable for modularity, but if it's too easily detached, then things end up feeling rickety. Then you feel like you want to glue them together, which defeats the point, of modularity in the first place. So there's a combination of systems, tab and slot. Some things just kind of slot together. The latest things use magnets. So that's pretty cool, and that's kind of the latest technology to hit the Promethium Forge scene is the whole magnetized thing. But that just comes with a lot of prototyping and just finding that fine balance of attached enough to feel sturdy, and it's not going to fall over mid-game, and all your models will go tumbling down, but also easy enough to move around, so you still have that modular feel.
Yeah. So you can have as many hazardous edges as you like. You don't have to always have your barricaded walls around every piece of floor.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then the other purpose of the barricades coming off is, again, the storage issue. So being able to pack the whole kit down into as small a box as possible. When all those floors lay flat, they just take up a lot less space.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So is there anything sort of moving forward that you've got any plans about at all, or anything else you'd like to do, even if it's just a pipe dream,
Yeah, I guess I can also talk briefly about the Sector Magneticus, which is the most recent addition to the line, and that is the one. So when the Zone Mortalis tiles hit, everybody wanted 3D walls to play on their tiles, and the 3D walls really, I think, enhance just the look and the feel of the gameplay. It makes it that much less abstract. So I really enjoy taking out those walls when we play on the tiles. Setup is quick and easy, so they're great. However, I was just looking at how long it takes to assemble and then paint, and I was thinking, man, it's a bummer that these 3D walls don't translate directly into a Sector Mechanicus 3D tabletop experience. So the product, the Sector Magneticus, which is kind of a play on words there, is designed to be both. So here you've spent all this time, painting your ZM walls to look fantastic. Well, now they're all magnetized building blocks to create your 3D tabletop and build upwards and sideways in every direction that the magnets hook together. So with the simple addition of the platforms, there you go. You've got a 3D tabletop. Which, by the way, is backwards compatible with all the other can terrain stuff. It's all, the exact same height, so it all works together. So you can get a couple cans out of the closet, add those to your corridor walls, and there you go. You've got a 3D tabletop. So,
that's really cool. I'm just looking at it now, and I didn't realize that was actually a product that you did. I've not seen that before. That is awesome. I myself have spent time trying to look for a decent set of walls for the Zone Mortalis tiles, and I haven't seen anything yet that has that sort of feature to it where it's that functional in the 3D games as well. So that is brilliant. I may very well have to invest in some of those myself when I get a chance.
Yeah, and the magnets are pretty fun too. There's just a certain I don't know, clickiness that comes with it all. That's kind of cool. It's just fun in that sense to set it up. It kind of feels like Legos or something. You're kind of constructing your Underhive spires and seeing how high you can make it go before it, feels unstable, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's been really cool to develop. It took a long time. I think what you're looking at there is maybe the 20th iteration of that design. It was surprisingly difficult to solve those problems, and I don't know, maybe somebody smarter than me would have gotten it with a lot fewer tries, but yeah, it's just amazing the amount of stuff that we tried out before finally gravitating towards this magnetized design, and we like it. It's pretty cool.
It is very cool. That's that's genuinely really innovative, and like you say, there's plenty of people that have been scrabbling to produce just pretty standard Sector Zone Mortalis 3D walls, and some of them they're not particularly great. Some are really good, but they're also quite expensive, and like you say, in an ironic sense, quite one-dimensional.
Yeah, there you go, literally. Yeah, so another product idea is just to do a little bit more with the Zone Mortalis tiles. I'm really drawn to the cool features and textures and hazards that present themselves on those tiles, and you could almost kind of visualize that as a gaming mat to build upwards into 3D terrain. So things I've been playing around with are kind of ways to bring those two worlds together and give a little bit more of a 3D visual element to the Zone Mortalis play style, and then once again have it translatable into the 3D. So that's that's kind of the direction that the latest development project is going.
Yeah, I obviously I can't speak for you or Promethium Forge, but I know for well I would love to see exactly sort of that. Things like not just your wall sections for your Zone Mortalis, but things like your effectively terrain pieces. So stuff like here's your Promethium cache. Here's your vats in the floor, or here's your malfunctioning generators and stuff. Just like these 3D pieces which would fit onto the Zone Mortalis tiles and bring those more 3D aspects to it. I think those would be brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. And then double as your scatter terrain.
Yeah,
in your 3D games as well.
Yeah, that would be brilliant to see. Like you say, really treating the tiles almost like a battle mat or board that you're trying to build up into the 3D perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the world of Necromunda is just so textured and such a delightfully weird place to spend some time, in your imagination. That it makes it pretty easy to see, like, okay, here's some neat ideas, and it would be great to have those on the tabletop. And there's so much that's just sitting there that'd be easy to bring to life. Well,
hopefully you might be getting a whole new pool of ideas and a whole new scope for development over the next year if GW continues to expand on the Necromunda range, and in particular on this concept of battle zones and hazardous areas. I'd love to see rules for fighting in sump seas and sump oceans, where rather than fighting over high floors with hazardous drops in them, you're fighting over almost sort of Lake Town style environments, and gangways and ports and all the rest of it, and the hazardous drops is obviously into the sump ocean. And I could imagine again that kind of production piece might be something that would be perfect for your product line. Here's a bunch of wooden walkways, here's a bunch of wooden boats or whatever, just something that would actually create the 3D visual of fighting on the sump seas.
Yeah, that would be awesome for sure. Just the different environments you can imagine in the Hive and the Underhive. The sky's the limit, or I guess the dome's the limit as
yeah.
One might say, and even to construct a dome, just the material itself, the MDF, it's pretty cool, pretty exciting in the sense that with the plastic, you're somewhat limited in just the physical size of the things you can build. But that's been another direction I've been just kind of thinking about, is how to go bigger with some things, and get more into how can you get an actual dome onto the tabletop, or an entire shipping dock or whatever it is.
I know I wanted to experiment with concepts of verticality in Zone Mortalis, where you would, rather than fighting with your tiles like horizontally next to each other, you fought with them in an imaginary vertical alignment. So you'd have them spaced out on your table, like say 6 tiles, and they're all the 6 floors, and the order like 1 through 6. And at each point on each tile, there's an access point that takes you up to the next tile. And then you could play scenarios where the tiles become hazardous as the game progresses, and they slowly sort of like get destroyed one by one, and the fighting is continuing as all the fighters are trying to fight their way up onto the next tier. And again, just things like creating a particular feature stairwell or other terrain piece that is clearly the point of access on a Zone Mortalis tile, could be an interesting addition.
Yeah, you could almost imagine like a framework, like these things would slide in like shelves. You could keep adding shelves to the top as the ones in the bottom drop away to represent a rising tide of sludge or something, like slowly consuming the levels. Just there's so many creative ways to do it. So many ideas out there.
It is, 1, a brilliant game. 2, it's a brilliant setting. And 3, there's a real brilliant community behind it all. And I think Necromunda has such scope for creativity and just abstract thought when it comes to gameplay, more so than things like 40k or Age of Sigmar. And to see people like yourself really being out there and sort of championing this community and these products and really creating the world of Necromunda on our tabletops, it's great to see. We might sit here and talk about it every month, but you're sat there every day building it.
Yeah, well, it's fun to have that creative side and kind of that creative outlet. And where my talent has never been in painting or that kind of thing. It's neat to contribute in this way.
We're all glad that you do. And if you're listening, you should definitely go check out Promethium Forge and the products they have, because as you can tell, we're big fans of them on the show, and we'd love for anyone else to get the chance to enjoy them as well.
Yeah, so a big announcement that's coming along for Promethium Forge that a lot of your listeners might be interested in. We are finally, after a long time and many requests, we are finally getting set up with European distribution. So pretty much the biggest problem from day one of the whole company has just been overseas shipping costs. Overseas shipping is just expensive. There's no way around it. If you're not, sending entire shipping containers worth of stuff, it's tremendously expensive for small producers. But the laser cut terrain has the huge advantage of being able to be manufactured anywhere that someone has a laser cutter. So I am setting up a partnership with a producer there in Europe, and we'll be able to get stuff to all around the continent for a much lower shipping cost than has previously been available.
Which is indeed excellent news for any of us over here in the UK.
Super excited to just open up the potential for a new marketplace there. That's cool.
Well, that's great. Is there anything else that you want to cover while you're here?
Not really. I'm just I'm trying not to take up too much time. There's so much to talk about with the aesthetic and the design. And I guess my last thing would just kind of be a question for you outside of the idea you kind of tossed around with the Zone Mortalis tiles. What would you like to see? What do you have in your brain that isn't being made by anybody right now?
Well, I mean, I think one thing that would do well is a selection of, again, effectively terrain pieces, be it Zone Mortalis or 3D, that represent many of the, I guess, game mechanic locations that exist currently. So just little things like a rogue dock shop, like an ammo jacks, like ammo store.
Yeah.
And you can expand that out to things like a Cawdor Bone Shrine, a Dilac Gambling Den. You know, there's all these locations that exist within the, like, say, the Dominion campaign system. And I personally would love to play a game where if we're fighting over a gambling den, I can see the thing on the board that represents the gambling den. Do you know what I mean? Not just this random association of tunnels where apparently there's some kind of gambling, you know, ring happening somewhere in here. So, I mean, with a direct Necromunda focus, that would be one of the things I'd love to see. Like a proper range of, not just like shops and stores, but I say things like furnace pit representation, fighting pit. What else is there? Just there's all sorts of stuff in there which you're meant to be fighting over when you play these games, but sometimes it doesn't look like you're fighting over a narco den, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Using that as inspiration to see that on the tabletop, I think would be awesome. I've spent sleepless nights trying to figure out how to do a spore cave. I really want like glowing mushrooms somehow.
And get some LEDs in there.
Yeah. I've played a lot with LEDs. I haven't gotten anything that really has been reproducible. They're not too hard to work with, you know, on a one-on-one hobby setting, but something as a product is a little bit trickier. But yeah, there's got to be an answer out there. I'm thinking about it.
And just looking actually at some of my Necromunda terrain on the shelf now, one thing I think that would actually be quite useful would be some like ground level pipeline stuff. That's sort of like the height, as it were, of your like inbox barricades, but something that's more than just 2 inches wide. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think I see that sort of stuff much anywhere either.
To really divide up and give you that line of sight blocking on that ground level.
Yes, because that's something I often find is the problem with using like a lot of the Sector Mechanicum terrain, or even stuff such as your can towers, getting not just small scatter terrain, but getting proper ground level terrain for Necromunda, I think is something that's perhaps not as readily available as could be.
Yeah. Okay. Pipeline stuff.
Like,
right.
Yeah, like I've recently just bought the Orc Mech Shop kit from GW, but what I've done is I've de-orcified it. So I've made all the large scrap pile, like moulded plastic terrain pieces, and I've removed anything that looks overly orky and just added generic Imperial scrap to it. So that when I play my Necromunda games, I can use these like scrap piles as exactly that around the base floor of the board that we're playing on, so that it isn't all just Sector Mechanicum structures with then the out of the box barricades on the floor. Like, it feels like there is some noticeable scatter terrain that's a little bit bigger than gangers, so they have to actually run around it. It blocks line of sight, but it's not really more than 2 or 3 inches tall. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and helps you build that density into your board.
Yes. Otherwise, I don't. Do you currently have a shipment container of any sort in your range?
You know, I had never done shipment containers. Just looking, I saw a lot of other companies that seemed to have done those pretty well, so I wasn't really drawn to that one.
That's
and then also just the logic of it. I wasn't sure about shipping containers being in the Underhive, you know, just like the mechanics of that. It's got to sit on a boat. So yeah, can they get these boats or these large vehicles into places in the Underhive? So yeah, I just kind of spent a little bit of time thinking about it, and it didn't quite make sense, and it wasn't something that I was drawn to.
Yeah, to admit, I never really thought about it that way, but how do the shipment containers get into these collapsed domes when, the access routes in are only as big as a person.
Yeah, right. Could be. But the pipeline stuff, that always made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always kind of pictured like some kind of train track too. I thought that doesn't get a lot of mention in the fluff, but something like that would make a lot of sense in this setting.
Something else actually that could be more, I guess, modular tokens rather than explicitly terrain pieces, but I feel there isn't a huge amount of variety out there to represent things like the beast lure markers or the creatures in the dark and stuff. It's something that looks like it could be a hazardous hidey hole that some horrible, hive creature could be hiding in. Because you get that one tentacle in the box, and that's it. And yet there are scenarios like Hunt the Beast where you're supposed to have about 6 of these markers around the board, and then a big beast himself as well. And I appreciate MDF cutting isn't exactly going to be the best medium for making an actual monster, but I don't know if you could make something that looks like a damaged manhole cover or something. Do you know what I mean? Something that looks like it's been inhabited by something not so nice.
Yeah, or just a step up from a token, so it is still an abstraction. It is a representation. It's not supposed to be a model, but it just looks a little bit cooler than the cardboard token that came with the set.
Yeah,
and can still represent a tentacle coming out of a hole in the ground or something like that.
One other thing I suppose I've seen done occasionally is billboards. Or like bounty boards or something similar, which you could have. It's certainly in the Underhive, and I've not seen a ton of people producing that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other kind of half of the customer base seems to come from the Infinity game system, which is one that I'm not real familiar with. I tried it once. It just didn't really grab me. They do tons of billboards, though, and they seem to love that in their tabletop setups. And it's always something that I thought could kind of work well in the Necromunda world. So, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Because the other thing that I've always fancied seeing, and I appreciate from a production point of view, there's potential IP issues, but stuff that is a bit more tied to the gangs. Do you know what I mean? So actually some like glyphs or graffiti, which again could be represented in a more 3D abstract concept. Like you could have some bulkheads, but those bulkheads have cut into them or molded onto them gang glyphs.
Yeah, exactly. Or kind of that gang relic, or just the headquarters or the Goliath's Muscle Beach, workout. Gym or whatever it is.
I could just imagine a little Goliath gym with not crossbars. That's what they're called, is it? I don't know. But
yeah,
they're
bench press bars and all that stuff.
Bench press, that's it. Yeah.
yeah, that would be cool. Gosh, yeah, it's neat to just look at all the stuff that's there, all the ideas, and just think about it and play with it. It's fun.
It is, and there is endless scope, and as such, I hope that you continue to grow and you continue to add to the range, and I myself will definitely be looking into this sector magnetica, was it?
Yep, that's the one, Sector Magneticus.
Yeah, Sector Magneticus, that looks excellent. But yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today?
I think that just about covers it, yeah.
Well, that's great. It's been great having you on. I do have to give you a little shout out for, was it last year you provided a prize for one of our listeners?
Yeah, that's right, for the scenario competition.
Thank you very much for doing that. That was
yeah, of course.
Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. And again, that's just one of the ways that I can express thanks for you guys doing what you do. Your podcast means a lot to me. The time that you put into that, and I know that those things take a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort to produce a quality product the way you guys do. So I feel like I want to give back in any way I can. So that's just a small gesture from my part to say thank you to you guys for producing your podcast. It's really something I enjoy, and I appreciate it.
Well, we're glad we enjoy it, and we're more than happy to have you on again. But in the meantime, is there any particular way people can find you or get hold of you, or where's it best to find the Promethium Forge?
Yeah, so the best place is probably on our website, which is just promethiumforge.com. Finding us on Facebook is the best way to stay in touch with updates and new product releases. So that's just Promethium Forge on Facebook. And then in the US of A, all of our products are available through promethiumforge.com. We'll link you through, but our current distributor is everylittlewar.com. And that's a great website. He's got a bunch of wonderful designers that design for him, and he cuts their stuff. But anyway, that is where to find us out there on the interwebs.
Awesome. I'm sure Tom will get a bunch of those links in the description, and people will be able to find them below. So great. It's been great having you on, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tony. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Okay, next up is my interview with Carl Walker and Matty Burns. Carl is running a campaign, so it's about discussing the running of the campaign. We talk about some other bits too. And Matty Burns is a guy who played Tony at Warhammer World when me and Tony played Warhammer World, I think maybe a month or two ago. So I'm going to chat to both those guys, and you'll hear that now. Okay, scumbags, I can't tell what number segment this is at because I'm recording this before we've actually recorded the main bit of the podcast. So we've got two bits today. We're discussing a game with Tony at Warhammer World, which we spoke about a while ago, and the campaign with Carl. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, certainly. So my name's Matt Burns. I took part in a recent campaign with Carl Walker, who's a big leader of promoting the Necromunda game, the format and so on. And recently, what we're going to talk about today is a match report that we ended up playing at Warhammer World.
And this was the game just after I triumphantly destroyed Tony's Escher gang, as we've spoken about previously.
Oh yes, I can remember those lovely models being on the board. It's fantastic.
I'll leave it to you now, because I actually wasn't part of that game, so I didn't really get to see what happened. So I think this bit's all on you.
All right, cool. So basically, I took my Goliaths, my Warrior Hellbanes, as they're called. Started off with just the generic starting gang, so to speak, along with the Escher gang that I was facing off against. My leader, he was armed with a grenade launcher and some sort of combat weapon. I can't remember because I keep changing my mind every time. Do you know when you just rip stuff out to see how things plays out? But I always, with my Goliaths, I always take two grenade launchers on a champion as well as my leader, so that I can just put that strength 6 firepower down pretty quickly, just to try and give my other guys that are basically armed with nothing but stub cannons the chance to get up there, because when they're only movement 4 they can't really do much other than just go forward. and hopefully
Yeah.
kill whatever's left or get shot at, so to speak. So I've got one leader, one champion, both of those two around with grenade launchers, along with one guy who's armed with a renderizer, and pretty much all the other guys are armed with stub cannons with one or two smoke grenades in there, just purely to block line of sight and to get the guys up there. It was so long ago that all I can remember was from this battle report, so to speak, this game, was a load of Escher women and Jews diving upon me, doing what can only be described as Selena from the underworld, jumping up and around in all leather, blowing me to bits whilst making heroic moves from, the terrain that we was playing on to absolutely get stuffed. But along the way, there was so much unexpected things that had happened. That's what I love about the game. There's so much narrative behind it. You can just play the game so well, and it unravels it. The story unravels before you, and because of the luck element, so to speak, anything can happen, which is great. So we've started off just doing a pitched battle against each other. To describe the terrain itself, there wasn't that much in the way of defensive, such as like barricades to hide behind, doors to snip in and out of, or anything to stop us from being knocked off if we was shot, or anything to benefit from any sort of cover, which is what I liked about it as well, because sometimes I find it can be quite cumbersome, as well as sometimes the terrain boards can be a bit cumbersome, but it's all part of the flavour, really, isn't it? You having opened areas for civilian areas where they can all like mingle, so on, and so on like that. Yeah, well, we got into it, and I can remember him sending at least. Sorry, the way that we had the ball, we were playing on one of the old, Forge World Zoma Talos sets, and at Warhammer World they have the terrain how it's set out is they've got it all mixed in with the Sector Mechanicus sets, and they've done an absolute fantastic job mixing in little elements so that they've got chemical plants working upon them, as well as you've got areas where you can't enter it because it's all covered in the chemicals that are actually coming out of the tanks, and so to speak, and it looks amazing. It really gives you that feel. And there was one narrow part of it which the Eschers just completely took advantage of, where you could send at least 3 to 4 gangers as one champions just down there without being shot at from it, without having the risk of being shot at. And it was I bet
Tony found that straight away.
Oh, he did. It was like, do you know what? It's like, oh great, I can't do anything other than to climb up onto the scaffolding to take advantage points of nothing that I can't shoot at. But it was one of those. It was part of the game, and it was just so well thought out. So the idea is, as I climbed onto this scaffolding and he was advancing down the right hand side, or his left, Tony's left, it was like, right, we managed to be able to again get into the vantage points where my stub cannons could knock them down, and as they advanced upon them. However, there was only one corridor where it had an opening on this segment of board where they had to come through, and the idea was just to back off from the line as they advanced. So obviously they couldn't advance far enough so that they couldn't engage me in combat. How wrong I was when it came to it. Didn't realise how fast they was, in all honesty. It's unbelievable how fast they are, especially able to get a right round the back to benefit from all the poison weapons and backstabby shenanigans that they can do.
Also, I find that because he knows that he's got such a high initiative,
yeah,
he'll be leaping over something that you wouldn't even thought that was a way to get around. You'll be like, oh, he's coming up that path and I've got my gun pointing at him, and then he'll jump from one ledge to another because all he's got to roll is a 2 up.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll jump over one to another, and you're like, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he did this. It was one of those, cinematic moments, because he did exactly the same thing when we played. And basically, it was one of his gang who was armed with 2 las pistols, and he had the skill where he could fire with both of them. I can't remember off the top of my head because
It's the John Woo skill.
Yeah,
You've got to throw a dove in the air at the same time and then jump sideways slowly.
Yeah. You just she jumps upon a panel. She jumps upon an elevated position where I think I'm safe. Honestly, I can't see her. I've got everybody else covered from line of sight, thinking, yeah, I've got this. And she's, after the dubs have released, I swear I must have heard angels sing as it goes. Oh.
Slow motion flying through the air.
And you're like watching in awe as this happens in front of you. And what just happened? I'm dead. I'm on the ground. I can't do nothing. And it was like, gutted. But it was brilliant. Because I love the fact that when you take a lot of risks, you have such a big payoff. But with Escher being, like you said, they only do stuff like on twos. It's like, oh, there's no risk. It's just like you do what you want to do. And you can brag about it.
I want to see him roll a couple of ones, though.
Yeah.
I do need to see him roll a couple of ones.
Yeah, just to make sure that he's not got, dodgy dice, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I've only paid him once now, and I'm already thinking that.
Well, as we started to unfold, so basically, as this Escher ganger mounted up upon the legend, jumped over, shooting my last champion that was alive at this point, shooting them down, and then all just landed comfortably like a superhero, landed right next to her, right next to my champion, just to coup de grace the guy off the table. It was like, oh. But when you actually sit back and look at it properly of how well it was like executed, and those are the moments that just make the game for me. Then in kind, I decided to blast him apart with all the stud cannons because
nice
in mid-turn, and it was quite, for what it was. You thought he was going to get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of dubs that can sneak around, like how fast they are, and the normal gangers coming in, taking support shots from like little coves or little alcoves that to support them as they're coming in, just purely to get around pinned and so on. All of a sudden my luck sort of like changed, where as soon as he snuck the littlest part of their body out of cover, that's it. My stub cannons came out, knocking them back, doing like the extra benefits that they do as they get caught from doing something silly, and it turned out to be a very level based game as we was playing it, and it was brilliant because there wasn't anything where you get those games where it's all one sided. Everything that you do just goes, well, I'll stick to playing Snap basically rather than anything. But it was great. There was one particular part where when he stood up his particular ganger, we trade off against fight. Right, she's going to stand up. I'm going to stand up. Right, she'll shoot. Right, I go down. Right, I stand up, stood down, and nothing happened with them. All they kept doing was shoot. This like caught in this crossfire against these two. But there was seemed to be having their own little Wild West moment, and it was great just to see that unfold.
Just one putting the other down and then vice versa.
Yeah, that's all we was doing, was exchanging fire. Just hoping that would roll something. But it was great.
It would have been interesting to watch if you're a bystander, just see two people getting up, shooting him, falling down, the other one getting up, shooting him, falling down.
Yeah, and it's fantastic when you see it. I'll tell you what though, you don't realise how powerful the versatile weapons are. Whether they've got range and so on, where they can just slap you about a bit from afar. And you're just stood there going, okay.
Yeah, Tony's definitely a fan of that.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that way now after, especially if you're assault only.
Yeah. Well,
that knockdown.
It's so brutal, isn't it? It really is. And when you've got the ability just to attack from afar with no retaliation, it's kind of, why didn't I think of that? / heartbreaking when it's happening to you. But there's the other part where you don't realise how strong Goliaths are, just being strength 4, toughness 4, and how long you can actually go out, because there's a lot of obviously with their armour as well, where you seem to be always attacked from the front by the firepower that you have if you do it right. It's just then that all goes out the door when they're up close personal and they're just going around the back stabbing you. And that's it. Have you ever changed your playstyle when you've actually had a game.
Well, I've definitely, after playing Tony, I've changed my gang.
Yeah.
I've gone the way that you have with 2 grenade launchers, a lot more shooting and a lot less combat dependent. I've also probably won't use my Zerker. I know I discussed that in the last episode.
Yeah.
Because it's just too combat orientated. Everything seems to need a bit of shooting, because if you're solely reliant on assault, if you do get pinned and you don't have versatile, like you're saying,
Yeah.
you're kind of knackered.
Well, that's it. You get all the way up there, going, yeah, double move, get up there, after moving 8 inches or so. I can't do it now. Oh, I'm going to get shot. Okay, next, stand down, walk 4 inches, get knocked down, walk 4 inches, and so on. I think it's one of those things where you have to learn it. You have to really learn from your mistakes as a Goliath player, so to speak. But then, as the campaign turns around, or as your games goes on, a lot of what your tactics are then countered by like sights and things. So an example would be I've started taking smoke grenades on my gangers purely to give everybody else. So as they're throwing it, they throw it and then walk up into the cloud of smoke, meaning that they can't get shot. It just gives you that little bit of survivability, where as you get there, especially when you're starting down and they quite haven't got the counters to said tactic yet, it just gives you that little bit of a boost, or even like in morale to yourself, to make I can now get these guys into a position where the combat side of things is going to work. But then I went against...
Yeah, I think
the
smoke grenades is definitely the way I'm going to go as well, with some... I mean, it won't help with sometimes like the lack if they've got their goggles on, but
yeah, true.
It will make a difference when you're playing Escher and stuff like that, and it's especially if it's like 1 or 2 games in, because you're not going to be buying all the fancy gear at the very start.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's definitely a way to go.
But then normally in the starting game, what I've tried to do is, whatever I do, I always try to be at least strength 5. So when I do hit something, if I hit, I'm going to put the thing down, whatever it is. An example is stub cannons, because the strength 5 knockback. Even if you run, don't just shoot it, pretend you're an orc for a bit, and then hope for the best. Whatever you do, it's going to put them down, ideally, if you're not rolling ones all the time like myself.
The Michael special.
Exactly. Exactly. But that's how I do it. You get the grenade launchers in there so that you can purely put down the fire, maybe to hopefully take out 1 or 2 people, which is one of the best things I do against one of our friends, Cam, that we plays. I've got this thing where I have played him twice in 2 games, and every time I've done it, the first shot with my grenade launcher from my champion takes one of his guys out. It was brutal. But one of the first time we played, took out one of his best champions, and he had all the stuff, all the stats, all the equipment, all the upgrades, and it was just like, oh right, so you're gonna roll your injury now, are you? Yeah, like we do. Yeah, rolls it. Oh, he's dead. Oh no, he's dead. It was like...
Was that his first game of Necromunda?
No, it was the first game that we met that I ended up doing that, and it was like, oh, yeah, victory is sweet. But then I did...
Well, at least you make a lasting impression.
Oh yeah, I brag him about it all the time. It's all about bragging rights, taking names, kicking ass, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then our second game, he changed over to Cordor, and I did the same thing to his guy who had a heavy stubber. Just, how do you like me now moment type thing.
Oh.
But yeah, you get those games though, don't you? Where everything goes, well, I'll say games, they're more like moments at the moment, to be honest. That everything goes right, you get a lucky shot, and it does change the game, and so on.
Yeah.
But how about yourself? What do you normally like take from when you game and so on?
Well, the before was basically just with my glass was quite a basic gang. Even some of the guys had to just close combat weapons. So when I played Tony, some of the at least one of the guys was just pure close combat weapons. So, and they were very basic. I think I just need more games, and I also need to play all the different scenarios, because if I play just one person, then you know how they play. So like when I played Tony, I knew to bring things like my phono goggles and stuff like that, and my respirators, because I knew he was going to either try and blind me or gas me, which would be fine. But if I play another person who doesn't do any of that, then I've got loads of toys that are completely redundant. So I think the more you play, the better it is, because you may know that in one game you get completely destroyed because someone is completely geared up to fight your sort of army.
Yeah.
But then you play a next game and the other person's got nothing at all. So I think the more games you play, if you keep with what you've got, you kind of realise that your gang isn't as bad as you thought. It's just against that certain type of army, you've really not got much chance. But I think I needed to, I've changed mine to a bit more like what yours is, with 2 grenade launchers. I've got 2 guys with stub cannons, but I have got a couple more combat orientated guys. Yeah. But I will start giving some frag grenades and bits and pieces, because like Tony was saying, they've got a 12-inch throw because of their strength. So you're pretty much lobbing a grenade as if you would lob a grenade launcher shot anyway. So you're trying to get close, you chuck a couple of smokes to start with, and then once you're in there you can start lobbing grenades about.
Yeah, and just
you could even smoke launch in a grenade launcher.
Yeah. It's just the only one is there. I can't remember. If you run out of ammunition for it, you can't use. Is it that weapon type or all weapon types? Of grenade type?
I think so. In the grenade launcher, it might have changed in the new rules. I will have to check that. But I think once you run out of a grenade, you run out of everything, sort of thing. So you have to be careful with that.
That's it, because I tried it, and I'm sure Carl brought me up upon it, and it was like, okay, I'll have to change that for next time. But it might have changed, because there's loads of little tweaks and things like that makes it more flowing, so to speak.
I've always fancied using an ammo jack anyway, see if I can muck about with some bits.
Yeah, because I've even tried making a shooty version of a Goliath gang. So the idea is like you've got your leader, then you've got 2 champions with grenade launchers, but then their skills are, is it nerves of steel or something, where you can ignore pinning?
Yeah.
On a cull check. But then your leader has, I think it's inspiring, so if you fail their cull checks when being shot, you can then use the leader's stats to re-roll it. So there's a good chance that you're going to be stood back up, able to dish out as much power, especially when you've got 2 wounds each and your toughness 4. You can really, it don't matter whatever comes at you, you can still relaunch all the firepower at them back, if you know what I mean. But then but it does work, but it's only right, certain scenarios where it would work, so to speak. And then you just got everybody else just running in and doing what they do. Yeah. But that's what I love about the game. You can do it. It's so flexible, and everybody plays it so different. And it's like you said, you've got to play more games, especially the game that we played. Going back to what I was talking about, it makes you more aware what gangs can actually do, especially when someone's playing with it properly to their strengths, rather than we'll just mess around and then we don't know what we're doing, so to speak. An example was the game that I played after the one in Warhammer World, when we played Carl. The board that it was like really, it was one of those boards where it's been advertised like a few times, or promoted on the sites. It's where there's a lot of like chasms and things like that, so even whatever you're going to hit by, you're going to fall, and you're going to fall hard. And what I managed to do was give one guy from the additional cards that you get, infiltrate, so he could set up on the other side, so wherever Carl moved, he was caught in a crossfire.
Nice.
So but then we kept exchanging fire. Everyone kept falling down, and it was funny because whoever missed was like, yeah, I can stand up without. Oh, I can move further down this like bridge or without diving off it and so on. But you just got to play to your surroundings and that. And I think it's all these little rules that are like, you know, on the cards, on these tactic cards. Thanks, mate. And yeah, he's helping me. I should have got the rule book, shouldn't I? No, all these tactic cards.
I don't expect you to know everything at the first sight. I don't.
I hope for the best. Just like,
That's what my amendment section is for the next episode. If I make a mistake, I can amend it the next one.
Savage, yeah. And then we're going to walk into our next campaign, trying out Gene Stealer cult, to be honest with you.
Oh, nice.
But you can still be sticking with your Goliaths?
Oh, at the moment, I'm painting up some Van Saar. I'm going to see if I can go go shooty. So I've converted up. Well, I'm starting to finish up my Gene Stealer cult that I've made from. My Van Saar that I've made from my Gene Stealer cult models. So I've just started. I painted up a test model, and and I'm all right with the colours now. So I've made an Arachna rig, I've made all the guys ready, an ammo jack. I've basically made way too much than I need. I've made a guy with a plasma cannon just because I fancied making one, even though he's not going to be in my beginning army. But yeah, so I'm going to go into that next. But I've had my Eschers. I've not played my Eschers in the new system as well. But yeah, I'll have a few gangs. And I want to make Cawdor as well once I can get some Sister of Battle heads.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, the Cawdor ones are definitely ones I want to do next. I just find that the lovely models, the way that they look,
they're really characterful. But yeah, no, I'll keep mucking about. I know once I think, I'm going to go shooty because I think that's probably better. I'll then get destroyed by a close combat one, and then I want to change it back again.
Yeah, well, Carl's just showed us the conversion that you did for the plasma cannon guy. And it's
that was with help from his arms.
You know,
he let me gave me some Orlock arms, so I've been able to use them. I think it's a much better pose than the one I had before. But,
oh, sweet. Well, yeah, it's because you do an awful lot of awesome modelling.
Yes, that's the main thing I like about the hobby more than really playing it. Yeah,
because I instantly recognise your Berserker because I'm a big fan, so to speak, and it was like the. Catalyst model, the veteran Catalyst model, that you used for it, and it worked.
Yeah,
fantastic.
It's great, but I was just getting used to metal again. I haven't used a metal model for absolutely ages.
Do you know when you go into modelling side of things? Do you know what weapons you're going to put onto it, or do you just let it unfold naturally, so to speak?
Because it depends. I mean, a lot of the time I'll have an idea of the weapons and bits and pieces I want beforehand, because I'll just need to know what I'm going to be modelling, but sometimes it changes. I mean, my ammo jack had a plasma sword at one point. I've just swapped it for the shotgun because I think it looks better. I did want a bolt gun, but I couldn't find one that was sleeved, so I've gone with holding a shotgun instead, which, I mean, ideally I'd have wanted the bolt gun, but it's what I've got, and it's not the end of the world. But on the whole, I do have an idea. But like the Goliath with the renderizer and my leader with the renderizer and the grenade launcher, I did that because it was in my head and I like the idea. It might not have. It's not particularly great as an option because it's like, am I using him for shooting or am I using him for combat? Because I basically bought two weapons that kind of contradict each other. But I liked the way I wanted the model where the grenade launcher arm, the hand was free, so it could also then hold the renderizer. Yeah. So that was more for the sake of modelling than it was.
Yeah, cause I built my leader with this exact same loadout, and the idea was that I wanted to make him look fearsome and all that. So I gave him Predator style dreadlocks, along with a skull face from one of the shoulder pads that you can get in the standard Goliath set, and tried to make him a little bit bigger by, getting the orc shoulder pads.
Yes.
Just to, not the ones that look really orky, just the ones that way you can fit it in, and it's like it'll it'll fit in with the model really nice. Because what it is like, do you know what you touched on it earlier with like loadouts and things like that? It's like, right, how am I gonna use this model? And then you've got to build several versions of him because what you get armed with, so you can tailor your approach when you're playing the systems, if you know what I mean. Like you said, because sometimes you're gonna get that warband where whatever you do, you're not armed right through it, so to speak, to take it on. But yeah, I'm going through a bit of a phase where I'm just creating a couple of different versions of the same model so that I can just, I like this with this set and so on like that.
Yeah, I think.
But you never know that I was going to roll out though, do you? After the upgrade and that.
If I knew that I was going to be set on one specific gang and that's all I was going to do, then I'd definitely do what you're doing, which is give myself multiple options with the same guy. Because you can do that in the game sort of thing. So, but because I'm sort of always so flippy between gangs, each of my models is singular. But I definitely think if there was one gang that I was really happy with, then I would probably end up doing multiple versions of the same model, because you can change its loadouts mid-game. I mean, not mid-game, but you can change its loadout between games and stuff, which gives you a lot more freedom when you're like, okay, well, this is a silent mission. I can load him up with a flechette pistol and a needle rifle or whatever. Yeah, true.
Well, that's it. And then there's all this, like, you know, you've got all the different like conversion ideas and so on like that. Like, especially when they start giving you the materials such as the not the Goliath / corn infested. Like cuts, so to speak, especially when you've got such really good models as, do you know, like not the berserkers, but do you know is it the blood reavers that you have? Do you know for Age of Sigmar, there's those blood reavers,
the slaughter priest and stuff.
Just basic. That's the ones, and you can really take those elements out of those models and put them into the Goliaths to add that fluff, but also just use different poses and so on, and really let your heart's content with your imagination.
No, definitely. And I think that's the bit I enjoy the most. I just pick out the snippets of bits I like and then just keep going from there. Not particularly helpful in regards to loadouts, but that's not what I did it for.
Well, that's it. All of a sudden you get a bright idea and it won't. It might not work and then it works, but it looks awesome. Yeah.
Wicked.
But that's it.
Alright, brilliant. I know that I need to speak to Carl as well. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we said goodbye?
Thank you for the content. Thanks for having us and so on. I can't wait to do it again. And next time I'll actually write it down so I can do a proper battle report.
I always think the same and then I never end up doing it.
Yeah, it's just there was so much happened during that game where there was toing and throwing and so like that. I just can't remember off the top of my head without.
Yeah, I have enough trouble remembering.
But yeah, I'm just loving it.
Well, I'm hoping that next time we go to Warhammer World, we can just send out a big old invite again, and then hopefully everyone can get down, because it was fun to meet up with some different people and play some different games, because you can't just keep playing the same people over and over again. That's why I hopefully want to speak to Carl, the reason he started the campaign, so you can get lots of people in and stuff. Cheers, mate. Defo. Have a good evening.
Right, I'll pass you over to him.
Okay, guys, the second part of the segment, I'm with Carl. Carl is a member of the group who set up a campaign. He's also someone that I've met at Warhammer World, and he's also a very fine person in being able to occasionally send me some bits and pieces I need for my models. So I'll thank you, Carl. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Carl. Obviously, I'm a patron of the podcast. I love the podcast. I never used to listen to podcasts. I'm a big X-Wing player as well, you see. So I started listening to those, and it's great because with some communities, Necromunda's a good one for us. It's not a massive community where we are. It's a lot smaller, whereas obviously X-Wing's a bit bigger. But it's good to hear what other people are doing and other people's experiences. Obviously, other ideas that people have. I'm 36 this year. I've been into a geek, as I would happily say, since I was probably about 11 or 12. And Necromunda and Blood Bowl are the two first games I played. At the time I played Necromunda, I was a schoolboy, so everything I had, long gone, apart from the cardboard sets of terrain, which I still have 3 of.
Nice.
But you just look back at those nostalgic memories that you had, and back then I used to play one boy all the time. It was my best friend growing up. It was just been me and him all the time. So it got a bit samey, and now, obviously, as an older man, there's obviously some really good communities out there, and one of the things I'm trying to do in Hull in particular is really grow the Necromunda scene. I've obviously got a bit of a campaign to discuss with you that was run by one of my good friends, Martin Whitworth, who runs the Lost Legion club over at Scunthorpe, and I'm about to fire up the next one. So it's really to throw my ideas your way, sort of see how the community reacts to them. I did put a couple of posts out on most of the Necromunda pages.
Didn't you?
Yeah, I think a lot of people misunderstood my intent about what I was saying, but obviously when we get into the nitty gritty, it'll probably make more sense. And I have a secret group that's set up with all our house rules that I've put in there, so I'll share some of those with you, and again, hopefully get some good feedback from that. But at the same time, it offers other options out for people out there as well.
I think the difficulty is when you're trying to type in text, it doesn't really come across what you're trying to say, sort of thing. It can be quite difficult.
I mean, the problem we've got in Hull, so there's myself and there's Matty, who you just spoke to, and then there's our friend Cam. So us 3, very keen players. Probably more me and Cam are the most keen. Matty does it because he loves me, but at the same time, there's other games I play because I love him. It's the way we work, bit of compromise, almost like an old married couple, would you believe? He would be the wife. I just want to throw that out there while he can hear me. But we do. It is, Necromunda at the minute is. I mean, up until about 3 years ago, I was X-Wing through and through. You wouldn't have found me playing much else. I've organised 3 charity events called the Nerf Header Open, so anyone that's listening that does play will be aware of that. I've raised $11,500 for charity over the last 3 years, running big X-Wing campaigns. But I really burnt out on it. I was playing sort of 3 days a week. And as much as I love the game, it's really simplistic. I only actually picked the game up, funnily enough, because Aeronautica Imperialis had been discontinued, which good news on that front that it's coming back. But that's a conversation for another day. But Necromunda for me, similar to Blood Bowl really, I love that on the board and off the board, it's 2 different games, but it's still a game. 40k, yeah, it's fantastic. The models are beautiful, but for me, 40k was always whoever's got the most money ends up winning, and I'm talking about real money here. I've got the biggest Titan, so I win. But once the game's over, that's it. There's nothing to it. Even if you write a narrative campaign, you can use a model from game to game. Whereas Necromunda, you've got that lasting effect of, I've got a champion. I've been running him through a campaign for 20 odd games now, and then the joke that Matty was making earlier, it's a bit more background to it. Him and Cam, when they was playing. The champion that Cam had, he was bragging I was the best champion in the campaign, such a great, you'll get nowhere near him, blah blah blah. First shot, Matt shoots him, he falls off a building and dies. And I know that he said it's all about the banter and stuff like that, but you don't really realise how much these guys, Matty's throwing it in his face all the time, absolutely, all the time. But the funny thing is, Cam is one of these guys that goes, oh mate, he's still living on that, whatever, but you can see it's chewing him up inside, because I don't care what people say, you build a love for your guys in your gang. It sounds really, even your stupid normal gangers, you've got one, everyone's seen my one with the middle fingers sticking up. He's definitely going to be called Craig from South Park, but I know people will pick on him because of the model, but for me, I'll just love him even more, and I'll do everything I can to wind people up with him, putting him in places where they will have to chase him down. I remember back in the day, years and years ago, when I used to run an old school Dalak gang, and I had a sniper back then. Ballistic skill increases, give him a sniper rifle back when you could swap weapons around. This is when I was a young kid, by the way, and he just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, so he became lucky, a bullseye. You start to develop a love and frustration for characters, and that for me just the game is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
I remember my close combat orientated champion lost a weapon skill, which was always helpful.
Yeah. Well, we when we used to play, we did have a little phase of it maybe about 6 or 7 years ago where we cracked out old Necromunda. One of the lads then, he's a lad called Rich. He's a lovely lad, but he's very much into the 40k tournament mindset of, I've got to win. And he took rat skins, and I have loads of terrain, as you've seen, but back then I had loads of terrain as well, different type of terrain. And when a board's fully geared up, old rat skins, it just sneak up on you. You don't get any chance to see them, and then boom, your gang's dead. It was crazy. But I absolutely love. I know I'm sort of sidetracking a bit here, but I love the alternative activations. I go, you go, I go, you go. That it just, I can't say how much it's improved Necromunda. I always listen to you guys when you talk about Blood Bowl and you sort of get into Blood Bowl. One thing I'll say about Blood Bowl is I purchased everything for Blood Bowl when it first came out. So much nostalgia, my favourite game. Blood Bowl 2 on my PS4. I just love it, absolutely love it. However, I cannot play it at the minute because to me it's you kick to me, I knock all your players down. Your turn, you stand them back up. My turn, I knock them all back down, and we keep going in that cycle till either I mess up, have a bit of bad luck with the dice, or I score. Then it happens the other way. I kick to you, you knock all mine down, I stand them back up. Matty introduced me to Guild Ball, which is alternative activations. I go, you go, I go, you go. It has an influence-based system as well, which is where you have like a resource basically, and how many actions people can use. But again, I won't go too much into that. But again, it just, that alternate I go, you go, I go, you go, tactically it just opens the game up massively. And as a result, I can't play Blood Bowl anymore. But once they brought it into Necromunda, I could not believe what a difference it makes to the game. It's so good. And you will, I've seen it in a couple of games now where you get to the end of a turn and you save someone for last, you charge him in, or you get him in a position where, do you know what, if I don't go first next, I am screwed.
Yeah.
But if I do go first, wow, this is going to be a big turn.
Yeah.
And then as Matty was saying in relation to his game with Tony, with all the Eschers jumping from building to building, like I always used to imagine Skaven used to do in Mordheim, from rooftop to rooftop. You just have that really cinematic moment of, yes, here we go, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. And they've done such a good job of bringing that back to life for Necromunda. I know that when you was talking about the Yak Tribe stuff, not the Yak Tribe, sorry, the Yak Tribe meet, sorry.
The event.
Yeah. So there's people there talking about the old school Necromunda and how they prefer it, and it's had all these years to iron out the creases, etc. I get that, I understand that. I'm sure a lot of it will translate over all these little sort of house rules that they want, but the alternate activations for me would just, I don't care if it's flawed and stuff like that. The alternate activations trumps old Necromunda for me. I mean, if they can incorporate into the old rules, then fair enough. I'd happily play the old rules. But for me, I think they're doing a really good job of ironing out the creases. And I know we've got, probably jumping into another segment that you're doing on the show, but I know we've got new books coming out, and there will be little tweaks and twists that will probably fix those things. But for me, I think they've done a really good job of rebooting it. Just trying to grow the community now. That's the biggest thing. I know that sales wise and nationally, it's been really successful. It's just trying to grow the community where we live, which I suppose brings me on to the campaign advice that I was asking for.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was trying to establish is the Dominion campaign is obviously much better than the Turf War. I'll tell you what I'll do, rather than jumping into the new one with that question, I'm better off talking about the campaign that we played, because then you'll understand why the Dominion is better.
You've gone a whole cycle through, haven't you?
Yeah. So we've done a full campaign. So a guy called Martin Whitworth, who works out of Scunthorpe, he's a Scunthorpe guy. He plays in a club called Lost Legion. He was running a campaign and he had about 10 confirmed players. So myself, Matty, Cam, and another lad called Tom, who was another Hull-based lad. We said, we'd like to take part. We really want to play some Necromunda. Tom had been playing Necromunda, but with his friends, and me, Cam, and Matty had been playing, and the four of us, like us three and Tom, had never seemed to get together. Whereas now we've got sort of Tom in with us, and we're playing with Tom. Actually lives 2 streets away from me. I didn't even know that until it was right at the very end of this campaign. Sod's law. But it was the old Turf War, and it's a really highly flawed campaign system. So, the worst thing with it is the bonus to reputation. So when you're an underdog, my Van Saar gang I played 12 games in total in this campaign. I drew 1, lost 1, won the other 10, and I finished with a rep of about 24. The kid who won it was Tom, and Tom had about 38 rep. And the reason his rep was so good is in a couple of the middle cycles he was only getting 1 game in. We had a cap in where he could only play 3 games a cycle.
Right.
And he was only getting 1 game in. So rating wise, I think his rating towards the end was around 1,200. Mine, really, really lucky. Very minimal casualties. So I'm a champion, my 2 champions, I'm a leader, and sort of halfway through my 3rd champion, I'm a leaders. You send them to work your turf and you get D6 times 10 credits as an action at a post game. So I was getting sort of 4d6 times 10 credits. My rating at the end of the campaign was 2,700 and something after 12 games. So I played Tom, and my rating's 14 better than his. Well, Matty was a good one actually. I played Matty at one point. My rating was 1,500 better than his. So he got 15 extra tactics cards, which was crazy.
Yeah.
Before the game even started, I think half my gang was gone. But then on top of that, he got an extra 15 to his rep. So even win, lose or draw, if I'd have won, I'd have got +1. Him for losing would have got +14.
Yeah.
So as a result, I was absolutely smashing it. Same with my friend Cam, smashing it. I think he only lost 2. I think me and him was sort of 3rd and 4th, or might have even been 4th and 5th, because some of the players that weren't playing very often, towards the end, as you know, a lot of players start to sort of whittle out. And the ones that sort of play very occasionally, once they play the players that are playing a lot, it then means that, do you know what, you just don't they just get such a big boost that actually it's almost worth hardly playing. But other than that, take that out of it, it's a fantastic campaign. 14 players at the beginning, 4 Hull lads, 3 of us played regular. Matty in the middle had a bit of a problem with work. He couldn't keep up with the cycles, then started playing again towards the end. And of the 10 lads from Scunthorpe, I think we had again about 3 or 4 that played on a regular basis. All I took from that personally was that's 3 or 4 lads really enjoyed the game, prepared to keep playing, then a couple of fringe players. So I've now set up a campaign using the Dominion Turf War rules. So now it brings me back to the question that I asked. It's how can you adapt the Dominion campaign for players that don't live near each other? So Scunthorpe's about a half an hour drive away from Hull. We've got 3 or 4 players there, only one of them drives. In Hull, we've got the 4 lads that I mentioned that can drive. We've then got a little village about another 25 minutes the opposite way from Hull, so this is even further from Scunthorpe. There's a group there called the Yorkshire Renegades. They've got about 3 or 4 lads that want to play. We've then got a village called Hessel, which is about 15 minutes from Hull city centre. There's a group there called the Garage Gaming Lads. They've got about 3 players that play on a regular basis. We've then got a lad who lives in Brid, about a 40-minute drive. We've got a lad who lives in Withensea, about another 30-40-minute drive. So we've got all these lads, and literally on a map, you're an hour from point to point.
You're not everybody all over the shop.
Yeah, not everybody can drive. So it's how do you make a campaign map that is then adaptable, that works, and it just you just can't physically get everybody together. So if I don't know, we've got the kid who lives in With and he's got a gambling den, which we all know everybody wants because it's such a good piece of turf. But you know what? He comes for the odd game once a cycle. Yes, he doesn't reap the benefit of it because he's not playing games, but it also means that nobody else can get it. And do you know what? I'm a regular Delac player and I want that turf. It's not really fair that I can't get it. So it's just trying to find good rules that you know we could implement. So I think what I settled on was each player starts with a settlement. It cannot be lost, exactly as the campaign is. And then after each game, the winner, assuming there is one, they roll a d6, and on a 2+, they get to draw a new random territory using the pack of cards selection, which is on page 80 of the book. So that way, they just gain a new turf. But if it's a 4+, when you roll that dice, if it is a natural 4 or more, you can take a random turf other than the settlement from the player you played.
Okay.
So if they've only got one territory, then you'd still have to do the random settlement. If that roll was a natural 6, you can choose one of their turfs. So this way, you still have the chance of taking a turf off them. There's a 50-50 chance of taking a turf off them. There's a chance of gaining no turf, but at least that way you can sort of get, still people can keep getting turfs. The other one is if you rolled a 6, you could draw a second. When you draw your turf, if I can't take one of you, for example, you've only got a settlement. There needs to be a bonus for rolling that natural 6. So what I've said is, if you don't like the first result, you can draw another random turf, but you must accept the second result. But that's by the by. We was then trying to sort of decide a way of putting a cap on. So I think I've put the cap is 8 turfs maximum. So if someone plays 50 games, we don't want someone with 50 turfs, because on a map you wouldn't have that many turfs between you. So I put a cap
because
of 8
that
turfs.
was my thought, was if someone played lots of games, but then you've also put a cap on the amount that you can play per cycle as well, haven't you?
Right. Yes and no.
Okay.
So on the first campaign we did it where you could play 3 games. However, one of the awards is Warmonger, and the thing is, me and Cam, for example, every cycle we will play 3 games. If we do it that way, then who do you give the Warmonger title to?
True.
So what I've done instead is I've said you can play as many games as you want in a cycle, but you can only play against each player a maximum of twice.
Right.
So that way, yes, me and Cam might be free 3 days this week and 4 days next week to play. However, I can only play them twice anyway.
Right.
So that will get us, 2 extra games each, but they'll be against each other. But then it sort of tries to incentivise us, trying to get the guys who are fringe playing. Come on, do you want a game? When does it work for you? It'll stop you running away with 50 games, but at the same time, it means that because if there's only 5 players, for example, you're only going to play a maximum of 10 games anyway. But I know that will still create players who then start to get a bit of a power increase. But if they want to keep playing those games, they're going to need to play the other regular players, because I know you'll get people that'll avoid good players as well. But
Right.
that's a separate sort of by the by. We are having it where house subplots are involved, house favours are involved, but house favours, this is learnt from the last campaign. You draw it once per cycle before your first game, but starting from cycle 2. The reason we put that in is the most common result you get is the 2d6 times 10 credits of stuff from your house favour list.
Right.
3 Vansar players in the last campaign. 2 of us waited for that first roll before the very first game. Boom, I got 70 credits. There's a pair of suspensors for my a set of suspensors for my plasma cannon.
Yeah.
And it absolutely, it didn't break it, but it made my plasma cannon very, very good. So those was massive. So they are in effect, although it will have the, yes, they're in effect, but the rule of it's still optional still kicks in. So if someone says, the house subplots, if someone goes, I don't want to roll it, then they don't have to roll it. I can't see why you wouldn't. And then the house subplot, with the drawing the cards, if someone says, I don't want to do it, you don't have to do it, it's fine, but they are in place. So if I want to do it, I can draw it, because there's the bonus to rep, creds, XP and stuff like that. Yak Tribe is essential for our campaign. It's mandatory. Everyone has to have their gang on Yak Tribe. Couple of reasons, bookkeeping purposes. But not only that, I've even said I'd happily do it for people, but with everyone being so far spread, it means I can track all the victories a lot easier without having to worry about, is anybody, how many games have you seen you played? I can't remember, or you forgot to email me and all of a sudden I've announced the wrong winner. But not only that, you can go on people's gangs and you can see if people are cheating. I'm not saying that people would, but you never know.
It's good to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
And even if it's the mistake, sometimes I find with Yak Tribe, it's
Double
always
clicking
good. But even then, it's like sometimes you'll accidentally click the wrong thing. So I know you can buy it, but you can also just
add it for free. Yeah.
And I think sometimes, because I've added it accidentally once and then couldn't work out how to trash it and all. I think it's always worth, once you've made your gang on the Yak Tribe, just add it up in the book as well, just to make sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I had a few people doing it the opposite way, where they were saying that it's not right, I've got loads of credits spare, but I shouldn't have any, but it's when the costings changed from one book to another as well. But yeah, so I mean, for me it's a must, just because I'm, in relation to my job, I might be going on a 3-month course in September, so towards the back end of the campaign, my time with the campaign will be a little bit less, because I'm likely to be in Wakefield on a regular basis. So because of the way it works, I might not be around for the back end of the campaign, but it just means that I can give Matty, an admin, writes on it, and he can have a look, or even give him a password and he can log in and make sure things are still running smoothly, no one's cheating. Or when I am free and available, I will get them in, but that's
You'll find Matty ends up winning the campaign, strange enough.
Yeah, he was at the bottom with no rep and been a top player, and now all of a sudden he's won the campaign.
Yeah. 6 heavy plasma cannons.
Yes. So the only other 2 rules with ours, the skipping over number 7, I'll go back to number 7 in a bit, but number 8 was the tactics cards. I definitely 100% think some of the tactics cards are so broken. Hazardous footing.
Dangerous footing.
Yeah, dangerous footing. So it's very, very bad for Van Saar players. You activate your leader. Yeah, on a 5+, it's an instant injury. I was thinking of errata in it, so that you fell a floor rather than, because we play mostly on 3D terrain anyway. You fell a floor, and if you was on ground level, you fell into the ground, took a strength 3 hit, and then it's going to cost you a double action to climb back out of the pit, assuming you survive. But I've
so it's
not banned
awkward,
anything.
but it's not destroyed anything at the same time.
Yeah. So instead, what I've done is everyone has to create a deck of at least 20 cards, and they're always going to be random cards. So I don't want to take that away from people, because some people, like with a dangerous foot, I mean, there's a lad who's got Hive Tremors, which was the GW exclusive card when you spent £100 on the £100 deal when it first came out, and that's basically, you activate it at the start of the game, there's a Hive Tremor, everybody has to take an initiative check or they're pinned. Now, doesn't sound like a broken card, but most people start with the gangers up high on ledges within half an inch of an edge, and again, Van Saar players, your entire gang ends up falling off buildings.
Yeah.
So half your gang can potentially go out of action. And he was an Escher player.
I was going to say, was he Escher?
Yeah, Escher player. So, 2+ don't affect me in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
So the rule is you can never have more than 6 cards. So the reason behind that is, with the difference in rating, you get bonus cards. Most scenarios you get 2 anyway. It means you're allowed up to 4 extra ones for the rating. A couple of reasons behind that. One is it stops it being silly when you can't even manage your cards when you've got too many.
15's too many. Like, there's no way you can remember.
Absolutely. Out of the 15 he had as well, he played about 8 or 9 of them. I would say 8 or 9 of them win the first 10. And my rating was 2,700 and something, but my leader's rating 700 because he had 2 different weapon sets. He had a full servo harness, he had a toughness increase, plasma pistol, the energy shield, carapace armor. So once my leader went instantly out of action, there's 700 credits off the board straight away. So it was massive. But it's also going to be choose with the random card. So you'll have a deck of 20, but when it says choose, you draw twice the number and choose from the pool. So if it says you're allowed 2, you'll shuffle your deck of 20, you'll draw 4 and pick 2. And then obviously, when it says it's just a random number of cards, like an extra, like when your rating's 400 less, you get 4 extra cards. They are just 4 random cards. So your first one, you'll draw 4, pick 2, discard 2, and then you'll draw the 4 for the bonus, and they are just random as per the rules. But what I've then done, because there will be instances where someone's rating's even higher than that, and I thought, well, there needs to be some sort of bonus still when you're a massive, massive underdog. And the one thing I think that GW has missed out of Necromunda that worked really well in the old school Necromunda was underdog XP. So if the rating goes above 400, I've added it, you get a further XP. Everyone gets an extra XP for surviving. So if it's more than 400, so as well as your 4 tactics cards, so if it's say 450, then you've gone that beyond that level. So then, as well as the 1 for surviving that everyone gets, you get another 1. So everyone gets 2 XP.
Right.
And if your leader wins, they gain a further +1. So if you win, your leader more often than not gets 1 for surviving, which becomes 2, and then 1 for winning, which becomes 2. So your leader could get 4 XP from that, which is a little bonus. Which brings me on back to number 7, where I said there was another rule in there. So XP. Experience seems a lot harder to earn in new Necromunda than in old Necromunda. In old Necromunda, every time you scored a wound, you got an XP.
That's right.
So I've effectively put that back in. If as a result of your action, usually from shooting or melee attacks, but sometimes a shot can cause someone to then fall off a building and take it in like a wound. But if as a result of your action, it causes 1 or more injury dice to be rolled, then the fighter gets an XP. So if I shoot you and I end up rolling 2 injury dice and it ends up being a double flesh wound, you don't get out of action, I still get the XP for it. And those are the house rules I've implemented on the new campaign. Like everything, it's going to be trial and error. I've put it out there, and I think I've got 15 players confirmed for it now. Just going through who's taking part. Let's have a look. Yes, I've got 14 on my list, but the 15th guy added up today, so I've got 15 guys. But of that 15, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 10 of them will be regular. They'll get at least 2 or 3 games a cycle. The other 5 will be as and when around work. Myself, I'm going to be really active at the beginning, and then say September I'm going to a firearms course. So once I'm on my course, I'll either be revising or what little time I've got will probably be with my kids. Just because it's such an intense course. But
if you couldn't guess, Carl's a teacher. That's why he needs a firearms course.
Yeah, in Hull. But yeah, so fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. It might be that some things actually still don't work. But again, it's all trial and error. I think we're only aiming for sort of 4 cycles. I do need to. The Yak meats absolutely inspired me, but I do need to get onto Yak Tribe and have a read of these Thunderdome rules.
It's really simple. I picked it up in 5 minutes.
If you picked it up, it should be
easy.
Exactly.
I couldn't even read the rules.
To be fair, I've said to everybody what we'll try and do. I'm going to try and find a way of implementing it, because I found on, is it Imgur, IMGUR, when people put the pictures on? Imgur. Yeah, my brother in the background's telling me.
The cool kids.
Yeah. He someone's created a massive arena for Dark Eldar. I'll send you a link to it.
Nice.
Of the actual picture. But basically, it is absolutely out of this world, gorgeous. Like an arena that they've made just purely for a fighting pit, massive areas for crowds. And I've said to all the lads, I'd like to make something very similar. And the plan is that we'll, opening day of the cycle, try and get as many people together. And if we can get people together, or at least sort of 4, we'll do a like a fighting pit challenge. So you put a character in, so all the injuries and stuff at the end of it, they all apply to the campaign. But
I've just seen your picture. You just sent me it. It looks awesome.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, so we'll try and do a fighting pit. The winner of the champion, as well as bragging rights, we'll do some sort of, everybody puts a certain number of credits in to enter. But then basically off the back of it, that gang might have +3 rep for that cycle, and we'll think of some sort of bonus rules again for that cycle for being crowned the champion. That disc that I sent you, with the Goliath logo on.
Yeah, the 2 logos.
Yes. So one of the lads has also he's got a 3D printer, and that because it comes from, I'm trying to think what it's called now. Thingiverse, yeah, it comes from Thingiverse, the file. One of the lads has got his own 3D printer, so he's trying to produce them for me at a much smaller scale. So they're almost like mini tiles that will go on terrain. So my plan is, once I've done my arena, to have the tiles around it. But I'm going to give someone the right to say, look, you can claim this reward, or we can do something. So if someone's Goliath and he absolutely hates the Van Sar player, we've got all these Van Sar logos in the wall. I'll allow you to defile one, and I'll let him paint some sort of slang over the picture in the pit. We'll just try and make it a bit fun, but just something for a bit of fun to sort of break or introduce the start of each cycle. One other thing I'm going to try and do, there's tournament rules in the book for sort of a 1-day event. I don't quite want to do a 1-day event with fresh gangs, but what I might do is a tournament day where I say to everyone, if I can get 6 or 7 players, everyone comes, we all pay a certain amount of money in, but if everyone gives me, say, a £5, for example, we'll just put it into a kitty and we'll run it like a Swiss type tournament. So, winners play winners, losers play losers, but at the end of it, we'll have a Swiss winner, and then we'll just give all the money to them and say, everyone gets 2 or 3 games towards a campaign. But it also means that someone would go to, if we're playing at, say, Stronghold Games or Akron Games, or two of the local stores near us, we'll say, right, there's 25 quid or 30 quid or 40 quid, depending on how much people put in. There's 40 quid, go spend it in the store.
Nice.
So, I mean, if the store will meet us in the middle somewhere as well, because obviously a lot of them give us 20% discount in Hull anyway. So, it's in their interest to go, right, well, I'll just go pick up a couple of extra boxes of Escher or whatever it is they're doing. But But yeah, it should be good. Should be fantastic. I'm excited to use my Orlocks. Yeah, I think I've got about 50 of them built ready for it, even though I'll only have about 8 for the entire campaign.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's about it for the campaigns. As I say, I can't swear highly enough about how much better the game's got. Yeah, I just love it. I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Well, I'm hoping that. When do you think your cycle's going to be finished? Did you say?
Well, the first campaign's over. That one's done. The second one, what I've been doing, actually, it's worth mentioning actually, because a couple of people have asked online. I know it was on the Necromunda group and not the Chronicles page, but it's worth mentioning just in case anybody's got the same sort of problems. But I've just been trying to grow the community first. So what I've done is we've got 3 businesses in Hull, and then we've got 1 gaming club, then we've got a gaming club in Scunthorpe and the one in Market Wheaton, as I've mentioned already. What I've tried to do is, at least once a week, I've tried to go into each of those venues and just run a demo day.
That's right.
Yeah, so turn up with all my terrain, all my painted gangs, set up all my terrain, and just hope that people turn up. And I think off the back of that, we've got about 4 people that have been out and bought the box game, and that they've all added into the campaign as well.
You should work for GW.
No, thank you. I always say if I won the lottery, like sort of Euro Millions, where you didn't have to work, that'd be the only time I'd ever stop working. But if I won the lottery normally, because I love my job, I love what I do, I think I'd probably still work. But if I had sort of big money, I would have to set up a gaming club, and that's probably all I'd do is just play games. Obviously, as my job, I'd love to sort of pay myself to do it. But no, we need to grow it, because funny you should mention GW, because we've got a GW in Hull, but someone put in about playing games in their local Games Workshop store, but I'm led to believe that, the Hull one doesn't, but I'm led to believe Games Workshop doesn't actually support specialist games in store. It's 40k Age of Sigmar, or you don't play it here.
Right.
And they do implement that in Hull. So if you went in there and said, I'd like to play Necromunda, they'd say, well, Hull's Angels is up the road, or you've got these other stores. They won't play it in the store.
Oh, I see. I've never tried, to be fair.
Yeah, they don't support any specialist games in store. And when you think that they're the sellers of it, I remember, I think Games Workshop changed their sales and business model about 15-20 years ago, where it went from being a hobby store to a sales model. So you used to go in, it'd be, now then mate, how's it going, how's you, chatting about, what you doing, how's that army coming on, and you had like a really friendly sort of vibe in the store, to walk in, hello there, what are you buying today? That's pretty much how it feels when you walk in. I hate walking into stores like that. One of the stores I've mentioned already, I won't say which one now, I'm going to say it, but they've got 2 guys in there, and one of them will happily say, how's it going, are you alright, how was you, how was life, sort of thing, and the other one, it's, what are you buying today, what are you buying, what are you in for today, and you'll go to buy something, you want this as well, and you want this, and it's like, please don't push it on me, I don't like it, it's a tactic, I can't stand it, it puts me off going to a shop. One of them, for my Orlock leader, I've got one of the Forge World heads, I've got an Anvil Industries full servo harness on him, and I wanted the power pick from the Gene Stealer. Yeah. And I wanted it, so I went in to buy the £25 box set, which is £22.50 from them. I spent £22.50 to get one piece, because all the bits websites were sold out. I was speaking to the guy who owns, the one who I said's okay, and he's like, Nah, I'm not letting you do that. No, you're not doing that. And he started looking, he found an obscure bit site I'd never seen before. He went, hey, I get it for £1.25. He ordered it. Said, there you are, you won £1.25. So I just give him £1.25. Went, in fact, do you know what? Don't worry about it. And just got it for me.
Nice.
And that to me is FLGS, friendly local gaming store, as we used to put it. But yeah, that to me was massive. And at that point I was a little frustrated with the store about something that had happened around the Speed Freaks game. But this for me just had me yeah, this is why I come in here, this is why you're my favourite store in the area. But that's massive. But yeah, growing the community, definitely you've got to persevere. I've done 4 now, 3 different stores and a gaming club, and for 2 of them, 1 person's turned up, so I've played them, but you know what, it's 1 new player. One of them, we had 3, and one of those was the guy who went to the very first one, and he came back and he said, I've bought this, and I just wanted to come in and get another game because I'd really like to play in your campaign, and I want to get as many games as I can so I don't look like an idiot when I'm playing. And I said to him, because we have a very good gaming group in that, if you was playing against me, for example, and you went to shoot somebody and it was just the wrong choice, the wrong thing to do, it's clearly so much better if you do this instead. I always say, I'll let you do it, but before you do, have you thought about doing this? And just try and help them see your reason. When they see it, they're like, oh yeah, much better. Why do you? Oh no, I can't. No, I've declared it. No, just do it. Just do it. Because I'd rather them become better players, enjoy the experience more. And if it means I lose, I lose. I'm not there to win. I'm just there to enjoy it, and that's a big thing for me. Absolutely massive thing.
Well, I think I'm definitely going to have to play you at Warhammer World next time, so you can actually tell me, advise me on when I've made a stupid decision.
You Goliath, how do you lose? They're all. It might as well be called I win.
I wish.
Yeah, you just need to play. The tiled version and just walk at people. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah, what I was hoping for was the Zone Mortalis ones, and then there was no tables, and I was like, lame. I have to play open against the Escher.
Well, actually, it's quite handy that because there's one thing I thought about when me and you have been speaking. I know you've got your other segments, so I don't want to overlap anything, but I am looking forward to this quarter's book to see what comes and what possibilities that we'll get from that. And again, not don't like talking about my work sort of thing, but with my work that I do, I'm really excited about quarter 3 Enforcers. I just hope that they activate more like a gang than like they used to be, where you had
a scenario piece sort of thing.
Yeah, there was sort of told up to the nines to start with, and I think you could have 3 games. Every 3 games you had to sub them out to sort of represent who was going off on a rest sort of period. I would like them to either be really heavy equipment wise, but really no numbers. Like you might be a maximum of say 6 people, but they are really good at equipment, and other than that they can still level up as normal. Or alternatively, stats maybe aren't great because they're maybe conscripted, but again with good equipment. So good equipment but crap stats, but you can have a normal sized gang. But I've got a feeling we'll have some heavily armoured sort of 5 or 6 maximum, like shock troops. Not Adeptus Arbites.
Feel it if they get knocked down, sort of thing. If you lose one, you kind of feel it.
Yeah, definitely. Power maul. Straight to the head, like the old Arbites, but not Arbites, because people get upset when you call them Arbites. Arbites, not Arbites, Enforcers.
Yeah. No, the book did sound good, and I'm glad I went to Warhammer Fest, because there was a point where I'm like, well, they've done all 6 now, and I haven't really, apart from every so often a single miniature or like the Hive Scum, like the 2 new ones that come out, and I thought, well, can't really do much of a podcast based on the release of 2 miniatures and stuff. No.
Well, last year they when they showed all the spoilers, I think it was the first time we sort of saw Delac, and they talked about. So this is before the cartel and the specialist duels and stuff like that was mentioned. So we've still got all them to come, which I'm really excited about. But even then, they talked about we've got all this to come, we've got so much more to come. I think they said then they're going to release everything that's already been released, so rat skins, all the stuff in the past, but they're not doing them next. So they will get round to them. So I thought, well, wow, what we got in the middle. So we're expecting the Corpse Guild, the Water Guild. There's so much. I'm just really excited to see it all. This is why I want to try and grow the community now before it becomes so complicated and so in depth. Because to try and tell people now, I get real excited, and as you've seen, I talk a lot anyway. But then I sort of drift off here, there, and everywhere in my conversations. And I want to be able to just explain, well, this is what we've got, and then say, right, and then say, but then, before I start going, and then we've got vehicles when we're driving over the surface, and then we've got these, alliances with the drug dealers and blah 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 blah, which obviously I won't be doing just in case everyone works with it.
I know that they, from what I got from the Q&A, it seems that they're wanting to do more with terrain and scenarios and bits and pieces, because it just mixes because even with like the gangs you got now, all you've got to do is chuck some different rules, some different areas, some of the fungus that eats you, and all of those bits and pieces, and you've got a completely different sort of game than you did before. And it was just through writing some rules about a terrain piece that they've got now, sort of thing.
The minute this book comes out, if there is actual fungus that eats you, I need to call somebody Seymour. I need my own little shop of horrors, but that's
because they're gonna have like a bad zone trading post and stuff where you get.
Yeah. Well, I'd seen the bad zone. I assume it's just an additional trading post. That's what you've got. It'll just be more in terms of at the minute we have a hazard suit, and that's it. I assume there'll be more in-depth hazard suit, so one will work better with this, that, and the other, whereas others won't. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where it can go. If I'm honest, Ash Waste is the bit I'm most excited about. I can't wait to have. I imagine it's going to be all biker gangs with small buggies with the harpoon guns on.
Like the old Gene Stealer cult new stuff.
Yeah. If I'm honest, I was talking to somebody before and was asking how they think they'd implement it. And my honest take is I think it's going to be the Gene Stealer vehicles, because I imagine they'll be quite stock vehicles. So I imagine it'll be, you pick up the Achilles Ridge Runner, for example, or a set of the bikes, and then you will get an upgrade sprue. So you'll get an Orlok specific upgrade sprue, you'll get an Eschers specific upgrade sprue. So we'll all have the same vehicles, but with just different riders. But on the sprue, it might give you an extra armor plate that has your house logo on, type thing. Only very basic, but at the same time, it'll give it a nice feel, I think.
Definitely, and it's definitely something you can then kit bash into making bigger vehicles out of two pieces, and
definitely
getting a rock grinder involved and a bit of tool rocks, and
because then it opens up so many options. At the minute, it's all house ruling, yes, but we've got the rules for pit fighting. They could easily add that as an expansion in a book, where I know it'd be stealing it from the Acme or whatever, but they could easily implement their own version of it. Then if they do an Ash Waste version, you could easily add car racing in as part of the fun. I'm hoping it's like Gorka Morka was, if I'm honest. I'm hoping that the vehicles have their own sort of injury chart, so to speak, and I'm hoping that they have continuous momentum like the old 40k used to be. So once that vehicle's moving, you turn somebody, you have to move so far before you can turn and stuff. I just think it's got so much potential, but it's just how simple or complicated they want to make it.
It's the balance, I think, because I know I was talking to someone who was at the Act Tribe event about basing it off the old Gorka Morka, and I do remember in a way that, because I think it's getting the balance, because there was at one point you'd roll to see if you hit, and then you'd roll to see if you damaged, and then it was different on different bits of the vehicle, and then from there you might have got a save, and then from there it would have rolled to see what distance and what way it went, and then you'd roll again, and I think they've just got to get the right balance, haven't they? It can't just be shoot and blow up, but it also can't go on forever.
Yeah, so you had your wheels, your hull, your engine, all that sort of stuff. But you're right. It does need to be sort of balanced out.
Because it led to separate damages as well. Because obviously, if we burst a tyre, it's different to shooting your gas tank, and so you then roll off on something separate.
But then I mean, the beauty of it was almost like lasting injuries. Your vehicle has a random thing in it where you roll the dice every time you move it, and on a one, it randomly turns 45 degrees to the left just to represent the fact that the steering's knackered. But I like that. But again, that was Gorka Morka and that was Orcs, and Orcs you expect the sort of ramshackle nature. So I don't think it'll be as in depth as that, but I'm excited for it. I'm assuming it's definitely going to be probably middle to back end of next year, because obviously they showed all the muties, so we're definitely going to see them alongside muties as gangs as well.
Did you say muties?
Yeah, they showed muties, didn't they? Have you not seen the artwork for the muties?
Oh, the artwork. Okay. I thought you said, oh, I can't believe I missed a model somewhere.
No, definitely not. Let's have a look. So I was going to see if I could find it there. Just the artwork. Oh, speaking of which, cannot wait for the Vansar bounty hunter with his vulture-like wings.
Oh yeah, that's going to be my favourite as well.
Definitely. Last question I want to ask you then.
Yes.
And then I'll leave you be from there.
Sweet.
In terms of like normal weapons and stuff like that, are you finding anything broken or anything that you've looked at and thought that just seems not unbalanced but seems almost too good? So there's two weapons in particular I've got in mind, but I'm just wondering if you've come across any as yet, because I know you don't always, because I know you're more towards modelling than playing side of things, so I know you might not have noticed it as much, but I wonder if there's any weapons that you think they just need looking at.
I know that, I suppose it's not overpowered or anything, but I know obviously las guns in the arms of two separate gangs where they're very cheap.
Yes.
Like, it just means that you end up with a gang that's pretty much all las cannons, apart from one or two shotguns where you beef up the strength. But off the top of my head, I haven't played any games where I thought, bloody hell, that weapon's a bit hardcore.
So as you started to say las, I thought, you've hit it there. The long las,
right.
The long las and the las rifle, so good, so good for what they are. The las. So the long las is a las gun with a 36-inch range, +1 to hit at long range, and it's strength 4, 20 credits. so good, ridiculously cheap. And Cawdor and Genestealer Cults can take them as standard. Or Cawdor definitely can take them as standard. I think Genestealer Cults is a special weapon. I'm sure with Cawdor might be a special weapon with them, to be fair. But after the first game, anyone can have special weapons, so they become ridiculously good. And then the long rifle's only 35 credits. Same again, it's 48 inch range instead of 36. It's again strength 4, but it's got knockback. The long las is plentiful, and the long rifle has knockback, but with -1 to your armor as well. Long las doesn't, but long rifle has -1 to your armor.
Because Cawdor have the long rifle, don't they? Is that right?
Yeah. So Cawdor have the long rifle. Cawdor have the long rifle, which is a strength 4, -1 to your armor, and knockback with a 48 inch range. It's so good. So I just think the pricing. I think they need to be at least double what they are. We found that in our campaign. All my Van Sar in particular, my backup weapon for all of them was a long rifle. I said, well, they're so cheap, why wouldn't you? So my plasma cannon, which got clicked all the time.
Yeah, that was fine. The other thing you didn't like, wasn't it?
Yeah, but even then, I don't mind click so much, because I didn't realise. I know Matty was talking about a bit ago. Sometimes you're reading the book and you go, oh, I didn't even know that rule. So like daft things like when someone's got 2 profiles, they both run out of ammo. I didn't know that until about 5-6 games into my last campaign.
Okay.
When they're a combi weapon, you roll 2 dice and pick the worst result. Again, I'd read it, but when I very first started reading the book, but I'd forgotten all about it, because I don't take many combi weapons. But you know, when you learn all these rules, the loot crates, completely forgot that you're both supposed to put a loot counter down at the start of the game.
I always forget loot counters and stuff.
Yeah, but if you're within a couple of inches of it, you can open it. Alright, on a 1 it blows up, it's a risk you take. On a 2 to 3 it says you take D6 credits, but I think me and you might have talked about this at Warhammer World. I think that's meant to be D6 times 5, because D6 5 is the lowest.
Yeah,
because it just says D6 credits. I think they've missed the times 5 off, because 1 to 4 credits, or even 6, what are you going to do with the odd number when everything's in multiples of 5? So I definitely think it's meant to be D6 times 5. And then on a 4+ it becomes an ammo cache. If you're within an inch of an ammo cache, you add +2 to any ammo roll you make, and you can ignore the scarce trait. Okay. So you stand a plasma cannon next to that, and it's 5+, all of a sudden becomes a 3+. Then as I've already heard you allude to speaking to Matty, if you have 2 ammo jacks in your gang, if you roll a 1 or a 2, you can re-roll it.
Yeah.
So you stand a plasma cannon within an inch of an ammo cache, it's on a 3+ your ammo check. If you roll a 1 or a 2, you get another chance at rolling it. So you get 2 chances at doing 3+. And if you do fail, do you know what? It doesn't matter, next turn I'll roll it again. I think if you roll a 6, you use up the loot counter, but all of a sudden it's not so bad. But my last campaign we played, so back onto long rifles and stuff, my plasma cannon, it got clicked. He got 1 shot off a game if he was lucky, then he got clicked. His backup weapon was a long rifle. When I was, because he was earning so much experience, I bought him a skill. I bought him fast shot. So fires his plasma cannon, that's fine, you've clicked it, no problems. It's got suspensors on it, so you can still move and fire it. And then after that, from the turn afterwards, I've got 2 shots of long rifle. So he went from being a burn holes in here to 2 sniper rifles. It was almost too good, definitely almost too good. For 35 credits, it was ridiculously good.
Yeah, I think it's because I just haven't, because my Goliaths obviously don't really have many long lasses and stuff, but
no.
I know, like with my bounty hunters, one of them's got a long lass, and then I know that with my Van Sar, one of them has a long lass as well, because they are pretty sweet.
I mean, I don't mind them. I've got no problems with them. I just think they should be either limited in number. That wouldn't be a bad thing, or just a lot more expensive, because they're really, really good, fantastic. And as a campaign runs on, you start to find that almost every gang. That's what we found, because I was reading on Reddit, which I don't very, very, very rarely use Reddit, but a lot of people were saying the campaigns seem to fluctuate and everyone seems to develop tactics together. So as Matty mentioned previously, smoke bombs, tactic I never even thought about. Marches everyone forward, last guy, smoke bomb in front of him, you can't shoot him. So his Goliath just walk up to your next turn, runs forward, the next guy, because obviously there's a good chance to run out of ammo with your grenades. Yeah. Next guy runs across, do you know what? Bump, there's another smoke bomb, gets halfway across the board and all of a sudden he's on you.
I think that's what I might have to do is for my Zerkers.
Well, I'm going to apologise in advance. I'm going to tell you the best counter for it straight away.
The goggles.
Counter to that is infrasights.
Yeah.
Because you just shoot through it. Or the goggles, as you said.
Because the Deluxe come with they have quite a lot of access to those goggles, don't they? Both sets.
Yes, and they're worth having because the tactics card lights out is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Can't see more than 3 inches, and when you follow the rules properly and you do randomly generate a scenario, 7's the most common roll you can get, and on a 7 it's the sneak attack one, so one gang's defending, and with that, if you're even just remotely out of sight and you're beyond 6 inches away, they can't shoot you, so you'll flick the lights off and they can't see you. They can pretty much just walk up to you and shoot you, because when you shoot somebody with silenced weapons, because nearly every weapon in Van Saar is in Delax is silenced, doesn't raise the alarm, so they just keep shooting, because even if you get hit and wounded and drop to the floor, that doesn't raise the alarm.
I think that's when you have to start getting sensor skulls and all of those gubbins as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of those, when people talk about the old rules and the new rules and how they've refined it and got better in time, that's one of the sort of little things. But then you could always house roll. If I got shot and I was down and bleeding out on the floor, I'm definitely going to be screaming help, help, help. But again, that's not a rule at the moment, so you play it as it is. But yeah, just wanted to see your thoughts on the long rifle and long las.
Yeah, I think they're good enough that I know I want to put them in the armies that I can field them.
Yeah, they're fantastically good, really, really good.
And with 3D terrain, it just gives you the option of keeping away if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one thing I've found, because I've put a few pictures of my terrain in. I've only got I've seen some really nice terrain going in the groups just recently, but I've got a lot of TT combat stuff. I've just got a load of the stuff from War Games tournament from Ed. I love the crane, it's fantastic. And I got one of his painted sets when it was offer last time. I think they've gone up on your website today actually as on offer again. Again, really, really, really nice set, beautiful terrain. I've got lots of terrain from different places. I think I could fill 3 4x4 boards where the amount of terrain is ridiculous. So you try and sort of block lines of sight for those rifles and stuff, but then all that happens is the next thing is you come up against a close combat gang and like Goliaths, and you don't want it there because they're just going to run up and then all of a sudden you are screwed. So it's just getting the right balance, I suppose. But I just think those weapons make you want to put more terrain out. But hey ho, it's again it's a learning curve. The prices may change, who knows, but they're not broken, ruin the game broken, but they are ridiculously good for what they are.
Just don't tell Tony.
He'll know already.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He'll have one-handed versions that he can jump 18 inches off a roof and pop it twice in the head, and then still get 2 actions when he lands.
And then throw a frag round so you can't get past it.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's a power gamer. I've only met him once, but I did have to peel some of the cheese off the toast.
You got to be careful when you're fighting Tony, I think. No, my Van Saar will be fun.
He Cam, who was in our campaign, I gave him Tony's name, said he's worth contacting and speaking to. I think
That's
Cam
right.
disagreed with him, to be fair, on a lot of his Escher tactics. I said, but trust me, I said the guy knows what he's talking about. Escher, absolutely love the new look of the new Escher, and watching him, having him jump around, as I've mentioned to before, it's just how I wanted Skaven to play, and we played Mordheim, but Mordheim just didn't have the right amount of terrain. But for me, I just wanted to Escher and I want him jumping from rooftop to rooftop. The fact that leaping rules don't matter how big the gap is, as long as you've got enough movement to get over it, it's fine. It's just an initiative check. So the 2+, I can just jump over that 5-inch gap. Would cost you 10 inches to run round. So yeah, I'm here, you Goliaths, come and get me. So they run round, then you go, okay, I'm just going to jump back to the other side.
That's it. I think I'm going to start investing in grapple hooks and stuff as well, so I can shoot around the board.
Yes.
Get a 12-inch shoot around.
Yes.
Because it's still trying to work out whether you can fire that forwards, because in theory it just says you can shoot any direction. So it's a bit like in Titanfall where you can chuck your grapple launcher and just shoot across the board.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's rules as written. Yeah, you can do it, but it's whether you want to be that guy.
Well, I'm going to have to if I'm playing Tony. I need every bit of help I can get.
Well, speaking of loaded up equipment, my old Van Saar leader, so I said he had a servo harness. He's got the Histra pattern shield, plasma pistol, and then I also gave him one of the power staves, so he's got 2-inch reach. Full servo harness and a toughness increase, so strength and toughness 5. I'd give him a weapon skill increase towards the back end of the campaign. So everyone's expecting him to be, even though you can look at him and he looks a bit of a beast, it's Vansar, you don't expect him to be that combat-y. He's then got a full servo harness. So all I'm doing is I'm measuring your, a level or two below me, and you're getting closer and closer. I stand him in front of my heavy, so you have to shoot him with his carapace armour as well. You have to shoot him with his 2+ save. And as you start getting closer and closer, do you know what? I'm just going to step off the edge of the building, float down to the next level, and as you get closer, you're thinking, well, what's going on here? Then his next turn, I'll just charge in, and he's scary. All of the 2 times I've charged him into combat, he's been brayed, but that's not the point. The point is, on paper, he's hard as nails. But yes, he did get brayed both times I tried it. But I think that's just more the dice. The dice didn't love me. So one of the intro games I did the other day was a lad called Shay. He's the one who went to the first one and then came to the last one I've done. And he played my brother. And my brother is the unluckiest guy in the world. When it comes to rolling dice, it's ridiculous. So he was using Vansar. All those 2+ to hit. So he had a leader, 2 champions, and 3 gangers because it was my old starting gang. So I said you've got 3 people hitting on 2s. Literally, he's rolling the dice, and all he's getting is 1s.
Nice.
But admittedly, when he did it, he was taking them out of action. But when he was rolling, and needed it, real clutch moment, 1. Or not even clutch moments, even just sort of average. It just when it didn't matter, and he was sort of like whatever. The funny thing was though is that he lost one guy because the starting number 6 he bottled and everybody ran.
Half the team ran.
Half of them ran. So
including the leader.
Yeah, he only lost a champion and a ganger. So I said, if this was a proper campaign game, I said the other kid would have scored 3 points, but he'd taken out 4 of the 10 Escher. I said, so believe it or not, you've won 4-3, even though you've ran, you've won. And he's like, how does that work? And I went, hey, I don't make the rules, I just enforce them.
Just accept it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So in our campaign, with the 15 players we've got, I've got one who he hasn't decided what he's doing yet, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Escher players. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Gene Stealer cult players, but one of those was Matty, and now he's changing to Gene Stealer from Goliath to Gene. Sorry, it was 4 Goliath. One's changed to Gene Stealer cult. So I've got 4 Escher, 3 Goliath, 2 Gene Stealer cult, 1 Vansar, 1 Delac, 1 Orlok. So all I'm missing is a Cawdor.
Cawdor, yeah.
But the kid who hadn't decided yet, I'd like to try and persuade him towards Cawdor. But I do think I think he's gone Goliath. But I'm hoping my brother and my cousin will play in it as well. But they haven't decided. If he does play it, decided who he's doing yet.
I'll just play anyone.
He'll play anyone. There you are. So my brother's Cawdor.
Fair enough. So I'm just going to say thank you to Carl and Matty for joining us today, and Carl's brother, who's been helping us out. What's your brother's name?
Adrian. It's called Adrian.
Okay, and Adrian is who's the IT man for for that side in Hull. So without him, we wouldn't have been able to record today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And cheers for all of you guys and for the help today.
Yeah, no
and
problems. Hopefully
we'll have this recording out soon.
Yeah, no problems. I say I'll definitely look forward to giving you an update of how the campaign goes now those particular house rules work. I'll share them. They'll all be shared in our private group. I'm happy to post on the Chronicles page because anything that helps other communities grow is fantastic. But yeah, thank you very much for having us. Keep up the good work on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of the show, to hear everything else that you heard from Warhammer Fest.
Nice one. Okay guys, hopefully you've had all 3 interviews now and they've worked really well, and now we're up to thank yous. So I'll do the thank yous and then I'm going to ask Eren, I'm going to put him under pressure to talk about what he's seen on the Facebook group that's cool.
Oh, okay.
There you go. You've got time to think about it while I say thank you.
No, I've got
Oh, awesome.
I've got a few.
Okay, so firstly, thank you. I'm going to kill your name. I'm really sorry because you've just sent me some really cool models, but it's Vididor, the guy from Hungry Troll, basically, for all of the cool models. I'm going to start painting them now as we seem to have a delay with the GW new washes, So I'm going to leave my Vansar for a sec, and I'm going to start painting up these awesome warriors, Nuke War warriors. But I'm going to have the link to his group on the release of this. But also, I know I've already started posting pictures of the models, and people have been asking me where I've been getting it from and stuff. So I've put that up already, and I know I'm definitely going to buy some more in the future. So thank you. Thank you for Carl and Matty for their support with the interview. Thank you for Kevin at Promethium Forge for the interview, and also obviously the kit that he sent us when we very first started the podcast. So thank you very much for that. And now it is Eren to discuss some of the things that he's discussed, and I'll start deleting if you mention any of the stuff. If you mention anything I've got, I'll take it off so I don't mention it again. So I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. Let's start with Ben Nevis. I saw his little bomb rats.
Oh, I thought
really cool.
you'd pick them. Yeah. I left them. I thought, I know Aaron's gonna pick bomb rats.
Nah, they look really cool, and the bases, like, I love them.
Funky, futuristic-y, kind of shiny bases.
Yeah, it's put really a lot of like, what's it called, non-metallic metal kind of look to it. And it's added the hazard stripes around the outside with scratches.
Yeah, I had to ask him how he did it because it was quite cool. Yeah,
it's put a lot of effort, which is great, and I love the little rat with the shades, the blue shades.
Yeah,
have you seen it? There's like one of them has got a pair of blue shades.
I was too busy noticing the bases. I didn't really pay attention to the shades. I'm gonna have a look.
Yeah, no, really cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I love the bases. They just really stick out.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I don't usually do the edges of the bases. I just hit it with black and that's about it. I just leave it as that. But yeah, it's gone to like some nice detail. That's the only sort of thing that's really stuck out for me. His name Jan Cleaver.
Okay, is this the green stuff?
Green stuff.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Oh man, they look sick.
Yeah,
I mean, green stuff's hard to handle. I mean, I was trying to do little pipes, and it was sticking all over the place. But this guy's gone in and done his armor. He's done the bases. They look really cool.
Yeah,
like really detailed and like really, really good solid armor edges. It's hard to get like a solid look. I think sometimes with green stuff, it ends up looking a little bit like curved.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but some of the edges are really sharp, and
because I think he also further in the group he's put a guide on how he made the capes, so he kind of makes molds.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's how he gets it also sharp, because he uses kind of
and the fur he's done is like top notch. It's I think it smashes some of the Forge World stuff that I've seen on Space Wolves.
I thought you were going to say that.
Oh my god, the Space Wolves ones are nasty, but the fur here you can see all sort of the layers, how the kind of the fur curves over each. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no,
like top notch stuff. Yeah, that's really cool.
Quite a seal of approval from you.
Yeah. It's nice to see. I think that's another one. Carl Walker's what are they called? I've forgotten the name. With the fingers up.
Yes, I thought you might pick that as well. His bounty hunter. Stick swearing.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so I have just realised that I've mixed two people together. Okay, so obviously there's Chris Idon's ongoing terrain stuff that he posts quite regularly.
Yeah, guy's on a mission. Yeah. It's always he loves it.
Yeah, there's absolutely the detail in it though is really cool. And it's just definitely. I remember when I was doing my graphics course when I was at secondary school, I could always design my shops or whatever it is that they asked us to do, but I could not for the life of me build the stuff. It would just all collapse on itself. So it'd be like, you've got 98% for for your drawing and stuff, but terrible for your building.
It
just collapsed on itself. It was an absolute nightmare. But yeah, he's managing it, so that's really cool. Someone new, I think he's new, Nick Standings, created some Goliaths. They've got kind of grey armour with some really nice scratches, but also two kind of lines that run down the chest of the armour slightly on the side. It reminds me of, like, you know, the old BMW M3s that have the kind of blue and red stripes that run down. But I thought that was quite unique. I might start thinking about how I could add some more colours to, because my Goliaths got very dark armour, so it might be nice to try and work out how to chuck some colour in. Kingsley Coppinger's Eschers are really cool. A guy called Jamie Noble Friars made a campaign map that a lot of people really liked. I think it was 3x3 or 4x4, and they were using it.
It's 4x4.
They were using it for their campaign, so you know who you want. You could only take over the people that were next to you, sort of thing. So you couldn't just say, "I want that thing over in that corner." You had to work your way across.
Sort of plan your way. Yeah, nice. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that was really cool. I've got Michael Green for his pets and the brutes. I'm just gonna quick, because my brain's gone blank on what that actually was.
Oh, he's added like the tiger stripes to his robot dog.
Oh, is he? Okay, hang on, let me have a look. Oh yeah, because that's what I'd seen on someone else had done that on their Chimerics, and it put mine to shame.
That's it. Yeah.
I was like, oh man, but he's gone.
Oh, I saw that. You're like, oh.
He's done like he's made like the Sheen bird. He's made the Stig brute, with obviously the custom rose and stuff, and he's made the Chimerics, and he's made an extra model with roses around its neck, like he's done for all of his Cawdor models. So that was really, really cool. And then Carl Walker's Arachnorig, which uses, I can't for the life of me remember what model he used again now. He told me as well. But it's a different version of the Arachnorig. It's nice to see lots of different people's ideas on how to do it. Then there's Miles David Guild's Bounty Hunter. It's really cool. I think he's one of the Little Legends painters, like the commission painters, and he was trying to work out what to write on the scroll. You know, the Guild Bounty Hunter that's holding out, like the wanted poster sort of thing, and he wasn't really 100% sure on what to put on it. So I think that's, it's difficult when they're holding scripts, if you wanted it to actually say something. What do you actually put on it? So
your shopping list.
Yeah. I was saying, listen to Chronicles from the Underhive. But we'll see. We'll see what he writes. Then I've got Thomas Dominic Kosh's Road Dock using the Gene Stealer cult model, like a lot of people have been using. But it's really nice painting, and the vials look really cool and all that sort of stuff. And lastly, Mike Kevinso pick his Escher Wasteland vehicle. It's like it's bright pink. He's not built it fully yet, but he started painting it. It's like pink, and then on both sides it's like a leopard skin, but pink leopard skin.
Cool.
It looks mental.
Proper 80s.
Yeah, it looks
glam rock.
It's exactly like what you'd imagine She-Ra would drive. Because I know you do like your He-Man and 80s 80s cartoons. But because a lot of our segments are separately recorded, we've actually recorded this quite quickly. I suppose it was just me and you as well. I think if there's more of us, it would have probably increased. But that's the end of our podcast for this month. It's a bit weird finishing before we've actually heard the rest of the stuff. But hey ho, time and space and confusing bits and pieces. So obviously by the time you guys hear it, everything will all be jammed together, and I'm sure it will hopefully sound great.
It will be good.
Brilliant. But that's the end of it for this month. So have a good month. Hopefully next month the book will be available. So we'll have that bit of a read of that and discuss.
Take a deep dive into it, see what's new, what's not. And,
yeah, and I think we'll have a look at because the downloads are obviously free. We can all download the tactics cards and have a little butchers and see which of those are cool, which of them scream out to us, and we might have a look at each of the gang specific ones to see what we like and what we think's good. And then don't listen to us because I'd have got it wrong.
Well, by the time we record next time, your contrast paint should come out. So maybe you could do like a little review on them and see like your take on them and what's good, what's not. And
hopefully I might have actually spoken to Henry as well, who's he's used them before they were that sort of available. Obviously he was one of those guys who got to use it before it even kicked off.
It's probably under sort of NDA. He's not allowed to talk about it.
Well,
or say anything bad about it.
I hope not, because they've already started chatting about those sort of things.
Okay.
I honestly don't think that he's.
Nah.
I mean, none of them got anything like from it. I mean, they got some paints, but like you were giving them to test. I know that they'd definitely be honest because they're a business. They want people to believe that they're telling the truth, sort of thing. But we'll see. Hopefully, I'll get to chat to Henry. But if not, we'll all have a little play and see if we.
We'll have a little play.
Yeah, we'll have a little fiddle. See what we like best. And I'm gonna put a poll on at the end of this. Not like that.
Oh, yeah. Are you?
Yes, I am. I'm gonna put a poll at. I won't do it now because it won't make any sense to people who haven't listened to the podcast. But it's gonna have a thing about, is Eren wrong or is Tom wrong in regards to if anyone's been able to use these washes, are they good or are they not?
I don't think we can call them washes, can we? Because washes are.
Well, should I call them contrast paints then, seeing as that's what they've called them? We'll put a thing.
Well, even the name contrast is, in art terms.
Well,
it's not really.
It's lucky that I'll put, instead of saying, do you like them or not, I'm just going to put, is Tom wrong or is Eren wrong? And then we'll find out.
I don't think there's like a wrong or right.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? I've done the poll. But I won't start that poll until we've released a podcast, so it'll make no sense to anyone. Okay, and then the loser has to pay the winner lots of money. Yeah. Or paint them a Gulliman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I'll never paint another one. Oh,
all right.
That trim.
All right, you've got to paint me a Helldrake then.
Oh, my God. No, that's like Trim Lord.
That's it. Yeah, you've got to love a bit of trim.
Oh, God. I've got a system now for trim.
So you've got to give it a good shave.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I'll put the poll up. On that note, it's the end of the podcast. So everyone have a good time, and we'll speak to you next month.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. And that was the end of Chronicles from the Underhive, a Necromunda and Post Apocalyptic podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. All the things we talk about in this podcast can be found at the Chronicles from the Underhive Facebook group, where we'll post up links to all of the websites we discussed and the current projects we're working on. Come and join us and post up your Necromunda projects. We hope to see you there, and may you never roll a double on your gambling den.